Yo, what's going on? It's your host. It's your guy. It's Rapstar Boxing. And let me tell you something, people. Shit's getting heated up. Shit's about to get worse than before it got better. One of the biggest fights in England has become the biggest controversy of England. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. You listening to Rapstar. And if you don't like what you hear, dislike, but do something. Hey, big shout out to everyone. Big shout out to everybody who's in the channel now. But yo, listen to this. People, I just had a little nap. And I just watched the CHRIS EUBANK Sr. interview. And shit's getting crazy, bro. If you go and watch the Stamina for Sale, big shout to on the Fight is Right podcast. Big shout to Tunde, Anthony Yard's trainer. And a big shout out to Spencer Ferrin. But what CHRIS EUBANK Sr. said, people, ain't no joke. This man told them that this whole boxing event is basically a whole conspiracy. And this is the worst thing that he said can happen. CHRIS EUBANK Sr. was basically a little bit in tears. If you go watch the interview, you'll see Spencer Ferrin's guy, Tunde, crying. He basically said they try to murder my son. CHRIS EUBANK Sr. said they tried to murder and kill my son. Hey, listen, big shout out to everyone, bro. Big shout out to everyone. Eliza, you can't send no money. We're not monetized. We're not monetized, bruv. But we don't care. Just smash that like button. And like Real Boxing TV, my subscriber says, hit the dislike as well if you want. It don't matter. Just at least support the channel. Now, let me tell you something, bro. This is one of the worst things that I'm seeing in boxing. I'm a bit ashamed of boxing. At the end of the day, boxing has become such, you know what I mean, a downer. The biggest fight has become the biggest controversy. And now the father said he's coming for them. CHRIS EUBANK Sr. said he's coming for the boxing people. They fucked with the wrong man. He said he already lost one son. He ain't about to lose another son. He said they brainwashed his son, and his son is basically not supposed to be participating in this fight. He said that my son doesn't believe in me now because they got the money, the way they've manipulated CHRIS EUBANK Jr. with the money. CHRIS EUBANK Sr. said he's coming for them. And what he means by saying he's coming for them is he legally going to do something about this. He said he's taking down Eddie Hearn and he's taking down the promoter for his own son. At the end of the day, he's telling you straight up that he's going to come and do something. And he's taking down Eddie Hearn. CHRIS EUBANK Sr. wants to see Eddie Hearn gone. And he wants to see the promoter of his son out. And I believe with a man like CHRIS EUBANK Sr., bro, let me tell you something, big court cases can happen. CHRIS EUBANK Sr. might be able to sue Eddie Hearn with his son. That they try to manipulate his son to take a fight like this. I don't know what he's thinking of doing. Maybe he's got some other shit that we don't even know. Maybe CHRIS EUBANK Sr.'s got some other information that we don't know. But the shit's going to get deep. This shit is about to get deep. I'm telling you. This is the beginning. The biggest fight has become the biggest fucking worst controversy for everyone in boxing. This is serious shit, bro. And I'm kind of fucking offended. Let me tell you why. How can I stick up for my own country? How can I stick up for Eddie Hearn? And how can I cover up this situation? I'll be a hypocrite. British boxing exposed itself. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the one of the best countries in the world. We love our sport. But just like the Americans, we've exposed ourselves. We are no better than anybody. British boxing has showed you that we are a bunch of crooks. We're a bunch of crooks. And maybe Chris Eubank Sr. needs to make an example out of British boxing now. Maybe Chris Eubank Sr. needs to make an example out of British boxing. These two men, Eddie Hearn and Cal Sauerland, are crooks. And firstly, to begin with, the promoter of his own son was pushing for a fight with steroids involved. What kind of promoter is he? He should be the first guy that they need to question. He was pushing his client to fight a fight with steroids. I'm going to keep it real with you people. I am disgusted, but I am not going to protect the British boxing. British boxing has exposed itself. Money talks, bullshit walks. It's money talks and bullshit walks. At the end of the day, this man who was promoting a fight, he was pushing Chris Eubank's son to take the fight while the other guy has been proven and positive for steroids. How the fuck can you trust this promoter, bro? Yo, big shout out to Kendall, Halim. I've just seen the chat. I've just switched on the chat. Con, Eliza, I appreciate such honesty. Hey, listen, you can only be honest if you're a man. We ain't no fanboys over here. We're not no Deontay Wilder fanboys. We're not no Canelo Alvarez fanboys. We are not Tyson Fury fanboys. We are fans of boxing. And these guys have exposed British boxing. Yo, Real Boxing TV, what's going on, my brother? But Real Boxing TV, I'm disgusted, bruv. Half of me is done with boxing. I'm gonna keep it real with you. My own country has let me down. My own country has took away the morals and the dignity of the sport. They've exposed us, bro. They have exposed such a hard, true warrior sport. These guys are manipulating out here, man. It's a gangster's paradise, man. It's money talks. And Eddie Hearn as well, doing some dirty shit out here. But look, it is what it is. They fucked up my fucking sport. Now we look like a bunch of crooks. One of the biggest fights, they fucked it up. But I gotta keep it real, bro. I am all about UK boxing. I am about Conor Benn. There ain't nobody pushing Conor Benn like me. There hasn't been nobody on this fucking YouTube pushing Conor Benn like me. I've had many debates. I've showed people that Conor Benn is the guy and Conor Benn is going to make a statement. 2 years ago, I put this guy all over YouTube because I'm a big British boxing fan. And I am a Conor Benn fan. But I can't protect this bullshit. At the end of the day, Conor Benn, yes, Conor Benn's been doing some good shit, exciting fights, knocking people the fuck out. But Conor Benn fucked up the sport on Saturday night. Conor Benn exposed himself. And Conor Benn made his people look bad. Conor Benn made his country look bad. At the end of the day, I can't sit here and fanboy Conor Benn. My fighter from England has exposed himself. It is the truth. Conor Benn single-handedly fucked up everybody on Saturday night. The whole Saturday night, the undercards, Lyndon Arthur, everybody else which was on the undercards. Conor Benn shut down the whole event. And the truth is, this is one of my favorite fucking fighters right now. This is one of my favorite fighters, man. He's been doing a lot of excitement. He's been bringing some serious boxing, mate. I'm telling you now, Conor Benn been bringing that excitement to boxing. If we don't have Conor Benn, man, that's killing the division right now. But this bullshit, how the fuck we gonna fucking protect this bullshit? Conor Benn fucked up the whole fucking game Saturday night. My favorite fighter exposed himself. British boxing exposed himself. And this doctor, what's this doctor's name? Usman Sajid. This doctor, Usman Sajid, has gone fucking missing. He shut down his Instagram. The doctor's on a run. Yeah, have you heard of that one? Hey, big shout out to my sister, Lisa Bells in the building. Big shout out to Lisa Bells. You know, at the end of the day, these doctors, which are 40-plus-year-old doctors, medical people out here advising Conor Benn to take certain steroids. Now this doctor's on the run. He shut down his Instagram. He shut down his social media. The doctor has gone missing. He's gone AWOL, just like Halim said. The doctor's gone AWOL, bro. The doctor's on a miss list. That's the doctor's face. There he is. You know what I mean? Hey, look, man, it's a big conspiracy now. Now, one of the biggest fights in England has become a big conspiracy. You know what I mean? And Chris Eubank Sr., oh my God. Oh my God. Chris Eubank Sr. ain't playing. Chris Eubank Sr. ain't playing. He said he's already lost one son and you try to murder my other son. I'm coming for you. Hey, maybe Chris Eubank Sr. is coming for the doctor. Somebody's getting it. Somebody's got to get it here. I just feel like this shit's getting worse. The more we find out about this dirty business, the more we realize there's some shit going on. And just like Chris Eubank Sr. said, I'm coming for them. Yo, Chris Eubank Sr. said he's coming for them. Who's he coming for? Who is Chris Eubank Sr. coming for? if the man said he's coming for them? Who do you think Chris Eubank Sr. said that he's coming for them? Who's he coming for? Who do you think? The doctor? Eddie Hearn? Cal Sauerland? The managers? The British Boxing Board? Who's he coming for? Because he's coming for someone. And the man was serious on the fucking interview. At the end of the day, I wouldn't put it past Chris Eubank Sr. He's a very intelligent man. Doctor went ghost like Al Heyman. Hey, the doctor went ghost like Al Heyman, bro. The doctor's gone missing. He knows that Chris Eubank Sr. is on the look. He's looking for him. Chris Eubank Sr. is looking for the doctor, bro. The doctor's on AWOL right now. Trust me. Hey, listen. Hey, listen. That doctor better get the fuck out of here. Hey, that doctor better get the fuck out of here, man. Because I'm telling you now, British boxing fans, they've taken this to heart. That doctor will get fucked up. I'm telling you now, if that doctor gets seen somewhere right now in the streets of London, he's getting fucked up. Someone's going to fuck that doctor up. Trust me. This guy over here, Usman Sajid. People are looking for Usman Sajid right now in the streets of England. Do you know this fight was such a big event for us, yeah? It sold out in 20 minutes. Mate, if I saw that doctor, bruv, that doctor's getting it. Hey, look, man, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Yo, what up to Pounds? What up to Carlos G in the building? And Halim says, Haggy, I was there at the fight near the corner. Nicks. That's the difference. Kendall, what's happening, bro? No, it's true, you know. Johnny Blaze, what's happening, bro? Hey, look, man, British boxing just got exposed. And we're going to call them out. I don't care if they're my people. British boxing just got exposed. And I'm a massive Nigel Benn fan. This is really hurting his dad's legacy, hurting this fight, man. You know what I mean? Hey, look, let me just tell everybody this now. And I want everybody to hear this. This amount of pressure and this amount of the situation. Hey, look, I'm just keeping it real with you guys. I hope next I don't hear that Conor Benn's got mental illness. I don't want to hear that Conor Benn, it could happen to Conor Benn. Maybe Conor Benn being so high in the world, and now the world looks at him like this. Maybe Conor Benn might be, you know, I'm not saying he's like that, but other fighters and other athletes would become suicidal. We're not even thinking about the pressure that Conor Benn's on. Now, we know that there's a team behind Conor Benn. We know there's a team of grown fucking men behind this kid. And that team is Tony Sims, Dr. Usman Sajid, Eddie Hearn, and a couple more people like his nutritionist, and another couple of people which are assistants of Tony Sims. Now, where the fuck is Tony Sims, the trainer? Tony Sims, what about him? Hey, listen to this. Kendall says he depressed because his balls are shrinking from the pot being dirty. You're a cunt. Why did VADA test if Ben is not even in the WBC rankings? You're right. It makes me also believe, Carlos G says, it makes me also believe Wilder said about Fury was true. And everyone just kept it hush hush. Shady business. Hey, shady business, bruv. I ain't protecting no man out here. This whole business is shady, bruv. Oh boy, Eddie Hearn is screwed. Halim says, no, the drill. Hey, Eddie Hearn's on the limelight now. Hey, Lisa says, rap star Tony Sim made a statement. I saw it on Twitter. Yeah, he did make that one statement. He did. Ben was set up. What do you think of that? Do you think Conor Ben would be set up? Pounds is saying that Ben was set up. Now, this is what you're hearing in England now, is that people are trying to take this blame away from Conor Ben. People are trying to give this blame to other grown men and say that other people advised him and they were more in charge. So now people are saying that Ben was set up. How do you feel about Conor Ben being set up? I mean, if I look at Conor Ben being set up, right? How can he be set up? Let's look at it. Now, it could be gangsters involved. There could be gangster shit involved here. Let's talk about it. There could be big money riding on Conor Ben to beat Chris Eubanks. There could be big money riding on Conor Ben to beat Chris Eubanks. And maybe the only way you can think that it's being set up, let's just even put it into a theory, right? Let's try and put one and one together. So the only way you can say Conor Ben was set up is that somebody went behind the scenes and said, you know the vitamins you give Conor Ben, yeah? Put steroids in it. Don't let Conor Ben know that he's taking steroids. We want to put those vitamins that we give him, right? We're going to add something to it. He ain't going to know, but we're going to push him into this situation where we're going to let him train his ass off like he is, and we're going to put something in his system. Come on. So you think, because you've already heard about these big firms like MTK when they were in boxing. The biggest gangsters are in boxing. But do you think someone's going to do that? That they're going to put something into a fighter like he thinks it's vitamins or he thinks it's something else, but they're actually giving him some kind of steroids? Do you believe they could do that to Conor Ben? That's my question. Eliza, Lisa, Con, everybody. Could they give you something without you knowing? Yes or no? Let's just break it down to the facts now. Let's break it down for what it is. It does happen in boxing. I just want to give Conor Ben some benefit of the doubt. Let's see if we can give him any benefit of the doubt. Of course they could. It's possible. I believe they could. Lisa says, of course. So, do you believe that this doctor and Tony Sims or somebody else could have said, okay, like this doctor said he's got undetectable steroids. He made a statement 10 months ago, this same doctor, and said that there is stuff out there that you can't get caught with. Now, my question is very simple. Could this doctor and somebody else had a meeting and say, okay, you're going to give Conor Ben these vitamins, put a little bit of these new steroids in there? You really believe they could do that to a fighter without the fighter knowing about it? without the fighter being involved in what's going in his body? Are you saying that the fighter will trust everybody like it's their family and the fighter's getting played? So the fighter's getting played. I think that's pretty hard. That's tough for me to really accept that Conor Benn got played by the people around him. That's tough for me to accept and realize that, yeah, actually, you know what? I can see Conor Benn being played out without him knowing. Now, Conor Benn said himself, Conor Benn said himself that he's been a clean fighter all his life and he don't believe this is true. He believes that this adverse findings, there's something going on, that he just doesn't believe it. So he's already denied it. Conor Benn's already denied it. So at this point, we don't know what's exactly going on, apart from the British Boxing Board of Control are now going to see what's the punishment if the B sample's coming back the same, and if it already has. So Conor Benn denied it in front of the world that he's got anything to do with this. You know? But hit that like button, by the way. And things about to get more serious now before it gets any better. You know? But do they need to make an example out of the situation? Do they need to do something serious so that they can clean up this whole situation? Do they need to make an example out of Conor Benn? Do they need to put serious laws and penalize people now? Somebody tell me, do you believe that they need, of course, says Halim, do they need to punish this kid really hard now? Yo, big shout out to Bruce Goes, John McSmith. Yo, big shout out to Bruce Goes as well, mate. So what you guys saying? I want to know what you guys think. Do they need, I'm not a politician, do they need to make an example out of Conor Benn? Do you want the boxing federation, border control, and the court system to ban Conor Benn? Yes or no? Do you want Conor Benn out the sport? One of the most exciting welterweights of today's era. When you know that Conor Benn and Virgil Ortiz, Conor Benn, Jarrett Boot Ennis is the future. Do you want him out the sport? No, says Pounds. Carlos says no. But I'm pretty sure he did. It's just simple questions. Do you want Conor Benn to be out of the sport or banned for a long time? Lisa says, of course not. You cheat, you get suspended, says Bruce. No. Johnny Blaze says no. So you don't think he should get punished much, right? Just like the rest of the boxers. Slap on the wrist. Halim says no. If he is to be suspended, no doubt. John McSmith says no. Eliza says no. So what is it about then? Maybe a year suspension. All right, so about a year suspension. Let's say that Conor Ben, you're the judge and jury. You think fairly they should give him a 1 year suspension, bro. Fine and a 1 year suspension. They should do a big fine and a 1 year suspension. Suspension in random test. It's his first offense. Okay, it's his first ever offense. Probably take his license away. Wait. Halim, if they take his license away, we're going to lose Conor Ben to the United States. If they take away Conor Ben's license, we're going to lose Conor Ben to the United States. If they take away Conor Ben's license, we're going to lose Conor Ben to Europe, or he's going to go fight in America anyway. They can't stop Conor Ben fighting, even if they take his license, bro. He can go to another country, go and move to Vegas, and Conor Ben can go fight in America. Just like how Amir Khan has, Tyson Fury has, Ashley Fairbairn has, Ricky Hatton has. All the guys that come from England can make big fights in America. So if they take his license, it's not really a punishment. We just lose him fighting in England. That's all that is. But yo, hit that like button because deep shit is happening in England, people. One of the most sacred places of boxing, where the Queensberry rules, the sweet science of boxing has come from. England, the most passionate fans in the world, just like a lot of fans around the world. This is the biggest sport for our country. And now the biggest fight has become one of the biggest controversies. Some of the British boxing has been exposed. We're kind of disgusted, mate. I'll tell you this right now. I'm having a buzz around the people around London, mate. They're disgusted. They're fucking pissed off. If anybody sees that doctor after the pub of having a few pints, this doctor here, Usman Sajid, which has gone AWOL, which has gone missing off the face of the fucking earth, is going to get it. Fans have took this to heart because this was a big fight for us in 2022. Everyone in the gym is pissed off. Man, listen, the boxing gyms are pissed off in England. This was a fight that we've been waiting for. And now this whole fucking event has been exposed. It's a load of bullshit. British boxing is just looking bad right now. At the moment, we're looking bad, mate. I'm going to keep it real. We're looking bad out here. British boxing don't... Man, they let us down here, mate. They've let us down, bro. I'll tell you that now. And now you got CHRIS EUBANK Sr. Now you got CHRIS EUBANK Sr. to deal with. He said this is the beginning. This ain't even started yet. CHRIS EUBANK Sr. was on a podcast last night and he said he's coming for Eddie Hearn's neck. Basically, the way I saw it is that he's coming for these guys, the managers, the promoters. He's coming for them. He said, you try to murder my fucking son. You try to play some games on my son. So look, at the end of the day, I feel that now things are going to get deeper. We're going to find out more stories. We're going to realize what's going on behind the scenes. Is somebody going to get sued? Is somebody going to settle out of court? Are shit going to happen? Eddie Hearn's looking bad. Hey, CHRIS EUBANK Sr. wants Eddie Hearn's blood. Let me tell you that, mate. Fast car Eddie better get in his fucking Bentley. Smash that light button there right now. Smash that like button. Keep it real, mate. At the end of the day, all I'm saying is the way I look at it is that all these people are looking bad. CHRIS EUBANK Sr.'s right, man. That Eddie Hearn tried to play a dirty trick. Eddie Hearn tried to play some dirty tricks. He been knowing this Conor Benn steroid situation for 2 fucking weeks. Eddie Hearn's known about the steroid situation for over 2 weeks. And he still tried to make that fight. He was pushing for it. He was paying people in the British Boxing Board of Control to be quiet. He was paying for lawyers to tell them, have the case after the fight. He was postponing the situation and telling everybody they can have the case after the fight. So stop the cap and start fucking understanding that Eddie Hearn tried to do something which was against the grain of boxing. He tried to go against the moral and it came back to expose him. Now he's looking exposed. Because Eddie Hearn tried to cover up Conor Benn. Let's keep that shit real. Eddie Hearn tried to cover up Conor Benn. Yo, Dimitar. Yo, my brethren. Punch drunk boxing. What's going on? Yes, man. But look, Eddie Hearn, right? He tried to fucking cover it up. The biggest promoter in the whole of Europe. One of the biggest guys in the sport of boxing. Fast car Eddie needs to get in his Bentley and just keep moving. You know what I'm saying? Fast car Eddie needs to keep moving and get in his Bentley. But for what I'm saying right now, I got to keep it 100 with you guys. I feel like British boxing has let us down. As a British guy, I don't even know how to really feel uplifted about the situation. I feel disgusted with the situation. And I also feel that part of it has been exposed. You know, we always say that the Americans cheat. You know, we always used to think, yeah, the Roy Jones, the James Tonys, recently the Oscar Valdez, Canelo Alvarez. You know, we've always seen little cheats more here and there. But listen, British boxing is worst. Hey, British boxing is worst. Hey, British boxing is just as bad. There's crooks over here. We ain't playing over here, mate. We fought this guy when I watched Victor Conte, when I watched the documentary. I thought to myself, how the fuck is Victor Conte, bro? How the fuck is Victor Conte back into boxing with a brand and a new product, which we know that he's got a legal product. But if you ever do your homework and you ever do your history and you check what this man did and what he was doing to athletes and how he was guiding them in science labs, making them new medicines which were undetectable. This guy, Victor Conte, knew the fucking remedy. He knows how to avoid the drug doping agencies. This guy used to get Shane Mosley to put injections in his stomach and in his back. Shane Mosley was taking different drugs with this man. And this man came on a interview once he got caught and everything. This was the same man, bro, that has been let into boxing. And now he's sponsoring fighters with his new products. This man is one of the dirtiest men when it comes to the drugs, cheats, and the laboratory of the pharmaceuticals in the most worst steroids that fighters can take. This guy had medicine for you that can never be detected. He had steroids that can't be detected. This geezer, if you wanted to say, is a genius in steroids and enhanced drugs. These are the geniuses of enhanced drugs. And now this guy's in boxing. He's back in boxing after going to prison. And he's welcomed with all arms. And don't you see that as a fucking issue? That the guy who knows how to avoid the system and the guy that knows how to give you undetectable drugs is back in the sport with love, arms. Don't you see that a little bit weird? When you see this, don't you see this a little bit weird? How the fuck is this guy back into the fucking boxing? You know what I mean? How the fuck is Victor Conte back into the sport when he was the poison of this sport? He was giving people medicine to go kill another man. And we got this man is not an issue for you. Come on, man. These are big issues, bruv. This is like everything in boxing don't have no morals. See, boxing don't have no morals. We talk about Conor Ben, but nothing has morals. That's the way I'm seeing it. Where are the morals in boxing? Where do you see that a man who's got a poison for the sport, gone to jail, giving athletes all these drugs, and he's allowed to have a big company and sponsor these fighters like Devin Haney, Boo Boo, Kalen Plant, Danny Jacobs? America don't look good either. I'll keep it real with you. At the end of the day, it's a dirty game all over the world. Do you know what I think should happen now? I don't know if you guys would agree with your boy Rat, but I reckon now the VADA testing and the UCAD and USADA testing, in fact, world testing, should become universal testing. Now I think it's time they change the laws and the way this situation is with this doping. What they need to do is get UCAD, USADA, and VADA as a one-time universal all across the world as a universal testing doping agency. What they need to do, they need to join forces and have one law, not UCAD saying, oh, you can use this. No, this is okay for you to use this. And then the other VADA says, no, this is bad. This is illegal, bro. This helps you in many different ways. Then you got USADA says, oh, you can use this. But then UCAD, says you can't use this. VADA says you can't use this. Man, just keep it one fucking big, universal, major fucking world company. Why can't they just keep it one doping agency so that it's the same for the whole world? It's simple. It's not hard to fucking resolve, is it? But the reason why they won't do that is because there's many companies making money out of it. This shit's too confusing. That's right, Lisa. The shit's too confusing. It's too confusing. You know what's even worse, yeah? Do you know this is stupid? Wait, I'll tell you what's worse. Let me tell you this. If this was up to the UCAD or USADA, maybe, doping agency companies, Conor Benn wouldn't be getting slandered. Let's just use your logic here, right? Let's just think about this. If VADA was not involved, UCAD and other agency had Conor Benn, he had a green light. He never got tested for nothing with UCAD. So they already said he was good. So if we had gone by that agency, then there ain't no problem. Conor Benn's a clean fighter because UCAD allow you to take certain things. So if you go by that company rule, Conor Benn shouldn't be getting slandered right now. He never got caught with that company. That's the facts. That is the facts. You know what I mean? That is just the fucking facts. If Conor Benn was sticking with that company, Conor Benn wouldn't be getting into a problem. The fight would have carried on and nobody can't slander nobody. But the other company, VADA, says, nah, Conor Benn doing something wrong. He's doing something illegal. So look at this. One company says, nah, you good. But the other doping company says, nah, you bad. Isn't that the same with Oscar Valdez? VADA said Oscar Valdez using some illegal substance. The sanctioning body has a meeting and says, well, you know, it was a bad substance, maybe, but it doesn't really enhance him that much. We're still going to let him fight. I'm just keeping it 100 here. There's so much confusing fucking rules. The whole thing is a fucking controversy, bro. Conor Benn is legally allowed to fight on one company, but VADA said, well, you know what? Conor Benn can't fight because we don't like that shit that he's taking. But the other company's all right with it. Isn't that some fucking stupid situation? I don't know about you guys, but to me, this VADA, UCAD, USADA, this whole thing is a dumb fucking situation right now. They're all exposed. Because VADA says something, right, but nobody takes it serious. So what the fuck are you in it for? If you don't take VADA serious, why the fuck are you using VADA, bro? Just to get the information, are you? So you can't do anything about it? If VADA doesn't make the last rules, then why the fuck are they reporting? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, people, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it real. The whole doping situation is so confusing. You know, let me explain this to you. Let me just give you some logics here. Let me show you something. I'm going to show you something here. Give me a second. When Billy Joe Saunders was fighting, hey, big respect to my sister, Rachel Donner in the building. She says, rap star because they want to pretend they are promoting a clean sport. Rap star, that confidential agreement is suspect on results. That confidential agreement is suspect on results. Hey, Rachel, hey, I'm going to send you a link if you got any time. I'd like to hear your views. You know, you're very, very knowledgeable in this sport. But I want to say I'm a bit confused in the doping agencies right now. If everybody remembers when Billy Joe Saunders was fighting Boo Boo Andre, if everybody remembers when Billy Joe Saunders was fighting Boo Boo Andre, if you remember clearly, ladies and gentlemen, Billy Joe Saunders took a spray that they said gives him way more energy, way more endurance in this spray that he took. It was a nasal spray used for your lungs that you could build more energy in your lungs. UCAD said that's totally good. You can use it. When Billy Joe Saunders used those drugs, UCAD said those drugs were good. You can use it. I can show you the articles. I promise you, I can get the articles and I can show you how much of a controversial this is. And no one else. But I have to introduce to my channel, one and only, Rachel Donner, the manager of the year, the trainer of the year, I would even say. How you doing, Rachel?
What's up, Rapstar?
Man, this has become confusing for us as we go into the doping situation. We're recognizing, right, Rachel, that one doping agency allows you to take a certain product, which can help you, but another doping agency says you're not allowed to use it. Now, within those situations that we've figured out, we're also confused that how come this becomes a big contradiction to the actual test with one doping agency, but the other agency has a different opinion to the same drug. What do you think about that?
I think it's the way that people either introduce the product or also their lack of knowledge of what it can do, and you know that is a huge problem. You know, VADA is very dedicated to finding out the newest drugs that people are trying to take to enhance their performance, in addition to also things like marijuana that they said they don't believe is something that enhances, right? And yet you had what was it, USADA or with the Olympic Committee that was disqualifying a lot of athletes for using marijuana. So it's their science, which I am going to assume that they were using UK scientists and UK labs and their test studies versus what VADA has on our end in the US and our studies in our labs. No one's going to take it, like, especially with them being two different countries. They're not going to take someone else's word for gold. They're going to have to go and do their own research. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if I would say about 8 months from now, it actually is on the UK's banned substance. But right now it's something that it's not really, it's unknown to them, I guess I should say.
Yeah, so do you actually feel that all these different doping agencies, why can't they make it a universal agency across the world so there doesn't have to be so much contradictions and so much complications? This is where we're realizing that this particular business seems very confusing just within the doping agencies.
I mean, that's just the doping agencies. You're looking at stuff in the UK that is not prohibited anywhere else, right? So if we reversed it, for example, the Casemiro Butler fight part 2, but really part 1. But the one that was in the UK, he got taken out of the fight because of sauna usage. But nowhere else in the world is that illegal. So it's really hard to adopt. I mean, even in the US, comes to sanctioning bodies, the BC has different medical rules for than the BA, than the BO. The different states have different. I mean, we talk about fighters that New York won't sanction them, so they go over to Florida or something, because they can't even agree on what is allowable for a boxer for medical reasons, right? That would be a really long road. You would have to have a world boxing association that would, I just said WBA, a world boxing oversight committee there that can oversee and has jurisdiction. That's going to be the biggest issue, is that any and all of the different sanctioning bodies and the commissions would have to pretty much have their blessing on an oversight committee, that all rules are all the same, they're all established, all the medicals are the same across the board between all of them, and same with what is an allowable drug and what is not.
Right. Now, let me just make a something that I read up with. Billy Joe Saunders took a nasal spray that enabled him to get some kind of, I think it's like a nasal spray that helps you in your lungs, gives you a bit more energy. UCAD said they're okay with it at the time. VADA said they're not okay with that. Um, so at that point, it becomes like, well, Billy Joe Saunders, if he fights under the UCAD rules, he was good to go. Well, Billy Joe Saunders, if he fought under the VADA rules, it was still illegal. But look at this, though. At the end of the day, it kind of gives the fighter, and like, it confuses the situation a little bit.
Well, it confuses the situation because here's the thing, and that's what I was talking about, the confidentiality, and Eddie Hearn had actually stated it. I have kind of like heard about it through the whispers around boxing that there's a reason why VADA can't announce the test. You always hear it from the promoters, and why is that? They never do a news blast in the middle of the night that their labs just got back to them that someone tested positive for something. It's always the promoter. And why is that? It's because they're demanding that the testing is confidential. Now, if it's confidential, there's no transparency in what you're doing. If like, I mean, every single time we take a test, like Nonito posts the pictures, I took the test, and then about approximately 2 weeks later, at the most, we get the results back, and Nonito posts the results. It should be that is the basis. Nonito's a different person, a different fighter, but that should be the very basis of us even having these, these testing agencies come in and test. The problem with that being that we saw it, right? We saw it with Oscar Valdez versus Consecao. They overturned it. It's almost like, hey, like, what is your opinion? Is how I look at it, like the way that they're hiring on, VADA, because if the state commission, that wasn't a state with Valdez, it was actually an Indian tribe, so it was an Indian commission, overturned a positive drug test, and so did, and that's all they needed really, was the commission to say, no, we're still sanctioning the fight. VADA has nothing. They just gave you the report, and it's up to them to what to do with it, unless there's a clause in there that says if your VADA test positive, VADA is allowed to release it, and it will postpone the fight or cancel the fight, whichever verbiage they want to use.
So VADA basically legally cannot do anything about any test. Legally,
no, they're only contracted.
They're only contracted as a self-independent voluntary. It's voluntary, right?
Correct.
Right. Now, this particular test, why do fighters enroll for the VADA program included their other program?
Because there's so many drugs out there that people can cycle on and off during the year, and when they know that they have a assigned fight, then they have time to cycle off the drugs, because supposedly, whether it's WADA or VADA, they can only test when there's a signed contract on hand. But before that, then you're all good to go do whatever the hell you want. So let's just say that there's a fighter that's cycling, and he's only fighting once a year. So that means the entire time outside of the contract of when he's contracted to fight, which is 8 to 12 weeks, 12 weeks would be the best, but 12 weeks out of the year, he's not taking, right? But the rest of the weeks in the year, he's completely on something, building his stamina, building, endurance, building power, building speed, and getting these results that by the time he cycles off, when the contract is signed, quote unquote, it's already gone out of his system, but he already reaped the benefits.
Right.
So so to come around, the reason why fighters want to be in the program is to show, like, hey, listen, at no point was I. You can't say you know, that just because I only fight once a year that I'm doping the rest of the year. Like I'm always, you know, because I mean, literally anytime that a fighter gains weight or adds even a 5% muscle mass, people start questioning, like, whoa, why does he look a lot ripper than the last time? Like they compare and contrast your before and after pictures all the time from the last fight. And if you performed extremely well in the fight present, then they will definitely question if you are. So why leave it to people to question and just allow yourself to be in this program voluntarily from your own pocket and say, you know, it doesn't matter. Like nobody can say I'm doing anything because literally at any point VADA can show up.
So VADA is basically a program that you use in order to claim your innocence, that you are clean in the sport all year round. The second thing is VADA is also that a kind of a doping agency can report if there's something that they found in your system, but they can't have any legal action. All right. So all they are is an independent company that can either give you all the reports that you need, and if something comes up, they just leave it to the boxing federation and the people in charge and what they want to do.
Well, so if you are in as far as I understand, if you are in the 24/7 the gold standard, which is the 24/7 365, then you boxers, I've never seen anyone say like, oh, you have to keep the test confidential. It kind of mutes the point of why you would even sign up. Um, the only time, like I said, that it starts to get, you know, confidentiality clauses and things like that are when it comes into a promoter that doesn't want the the test result released before they have a game plan of how they're going to do this, if they can still sneak it by, is there going to be problems, can we um, can we just test B, for example, if his test A sample came back positive, there's a B sample and it hasn't been tested. He's not asking to test it. And that's like a little bit suspicious to me because the B sample, but basically what happens is you pee into one cup, the collection cup. Then there's two testing cups from the same batch of urine. And you separate 50-50 between the red and blue cup. You seal both of them, and one becomes the A sample, one becomes the B sample. So that way, it's a verification that if A sample was dirty, then let's check the B sample and make sure that that one's dirty too. If not, and that one becomes um, clean, then it's almost like you're in a neutralized position. I wouldn't know what VADA would do at that point, but that's how they've run the game.
And that has happened probably in the past, right?
I mean, I would assume. I haven't. I mean, of course, we haven't been in that position, so I can't
Yeah.
say that I know, but yeah.
So I saw something where somebody spoke about the USADA doping agency program. Are you familiar with the USADA program?
A little bit. Not too much though.
Right. What they said was in a short sentence is basically with the USADA program, it's a bit lenient, and there's many ways to get around that program. So at the end of the day, also he said that basically if you miss a test and they're coming to give you a test and you got a
Oh, yes,
valuable
yes.
reason and you have a
Mm-hmm.
valuable reason to miss the
Yeah.
test, like let's say you got a family emergency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or and you have to
Yeah.
do something and you have to go because you can't take your test, and you give them the reason, they will give you not a
A pass.
violation, but like a report that you've missed one test.
Yeah. I think you could miss up to two. The third one that you miss,
Is a violation.
then yeah, then it's a complete violation. Yeah, I've heard that. There's actually a boxer that pulled out of the fight, ended up fighting, I don't know, like some B-rated sanctioning, B-rated uh, circuit after that because he kept trying to dodge USADA. Um, I mean, I'll tell you one thing, VADA is one of the most uh, persistent guys. Literally, I think there was one time where the guy was like, "Oh, I went to the gym, but I didn't see your car." And Nonito was like, "Dude, the car's there." He's like, "Oh, you got a new car because our car was silver before, and now it turned black." And he's like, "Yeah, I was at the gym the whole time." And he goes, "Well," and he was like, "Then I went." He went somewhere else, and then he waited pretty much until we got home at 7 o'clock that night, getting the boys home from school and eating dinner, and they're waiting in our driveway. And of course, my first reaction was like, "Did you invite someone over?" And he was like, "No." And sure enough, the guy walks out. He's like, "I've been trying to track you all day." Like, they're persistent, and those whereabout sheets is where they get you unannounced, right? So he knows where we're going to be at what times on what days. So every single day, of course, is different for us, and we go to different gyms and different locations, and so they know our schedule at any given point, and they'll show up randomly. And I don't know how late they actually go, but like I said, I during the last fight they came 9, I think was the latest, because again, like, if you don't expect them, right? Like, you just go about your day. So if the boys are like, "We want to go eat, we want to, do this or that," I'm not in any rush to go home. So, but they'll wait for you if they think you're coming home or if you're going to be at the gym.
Not many people are enroll for that program, right? Where you get tested all the time. Not everybody voluntary goes for that test like you guys have, right? So
No, and you know what I think is a lot of it is because, let's be honest, I do believe that there are boxers that take recreational drugs outside of camp, and that's going to pop on the test, right? Nonito and I mean, we've been clean since we were born, basically, because we were fighting. Both of us were trying out for the Olympics in 2000, and then I went to the military. There was no way I wanted to get caught with drugs in my system in the military.
yeah,
So it's for us, it's not a big deal because it's not. We don't do anything outside of that anyway. That would be suspicious.
yeah. I just want to let people know, especially on rap stuff, people from Europe, which will come on later on. Rachel Donnell was also into combat sports herself. She also practiced what she preached. And if I'm not mistaken, you were more into kickboxing, was it?
Taekwondo.
Taekwondo. So you were competing in Taekwondo in your own platform. So how did that go? I mean, was that something that you were so dedicated to at some point? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I was growing up, so I was in Taekwondo at the age of 8, and it was because my dad was a black belt, and I
When
started.
you're a black belt, you're a bad man. That's what they always tell you.
Yeah, so my dad, he got his black belt when he was 16, and then hadn't practiced for a while when he had us. And then when I turned 8, he started going back, and I said I wanted to try it. From there, surprisingly, one of our instructors that was in the school was Eddie Croft, um, and he was a former professional boxer as well. He owns his own gym now in San Mateo, California. But we also had a kickboxer, Ramona Gatto, which was a female world champion. So I got to mix up a lot with them as I was growing up, and by the age of 12, I was a state and national champion. And then by, I want to say 16, then I started going into the senior circuit and made senior national team. Turned 18, went on the collegiate circuit, won collegiate national team, went to collegiate worlds. When I was in the military, I was on the military team in addition to the world class athlete program, and won second at worlds. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much where it took me. And then when I met Nonito, I was actually competing at states, and we were both cutting weight. And I went through a couple competitions with us being together, and it was not a pretty sight of both of us cutting weight in the same household.
Wow.
So one of us had to quit, or someone was going to get killed.
Oh shit! It's not so cutting weight is really, really a situation where You know, you get moody, right? You would expect people logically to get moody, get a little bit more agitated sometimes. I don't know. I'm just trying to think, if somebody was on a diet and you can't eat most of the things you want to eat, then there must be some kind of a, they call it not hungry, but
Hangry.
hangry. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that for Nonito and mostly men, it's very easy to lose weight, right? He'll work out, he'll lose 6, 7 pounds in one workout, easy, done. And for women, it's, I mean, you'll be lucky if you lose 2 in the exact same workout. And so I have so many stories where, we'll there's one day where he was like, oh, let's go for a run, and then we'll lose 5 pounds, and then we'll go to dinner, and then we'll start cutting again tomorrow. So like you slowly decrease how much you're eating. And I remember the run, and then I remember coming home, and I remember him losing 5 pounds, and I remember I lost 1.2. And then at that point I was crying for cheesecake. I don't know why, but I was full out crying saying I wanted cheesecake. And we ended up not going to Applebee's and getting cheesecake that time, but we ended up going to a sauna. We had plastic playing cards that can stay in the sauna because you bring the regular playing cards, paper, they melt, right? So we had plastic playing cards and we would play cards in the sauna for 45 minutes at 11 o'clock at night at a fitness gym, just trying to cut weight together.
Yeah. So, hey, at the end of the day, though, I think being in that situation, knowing what it takes to compete, um, do you understand the why so many athletes take steroids, or you don't understand, or do you understand that a body gives up to a certain point, or the mind maybe gives up to a certain point, or why do you think these athletes take enhanced drugs? Do you kind of can have some kind of opinion on that?
Oh, I have a very strong opinion. I think whoever takes anything to cheat or does anything to cheat is a little bitch in themselves. They don't have the strongest mindset and they know that they can't do it naturally. And honestly, that's like, it's almost like, I mean, could you have done a placebo effect, right? Like, said you were going to shoot them with testosterone or whatever steroids and shoot them with B12, and their mind is thinking that they're actually on these things. These people who are purposely are intentionally taking it are already weak-minded. They're always going to find something to make them stronger because they don't believe in themselves enough to do it. And it's and they don't believe in themselves and they don't want to put enough of the hard work to even do it to begin with. That's what cheating is about. It's just like studying for a test. If you don't, you have to cheat to get an A because you didn't want to study, you didn't want to, it's not that you didn't understand what was expected of you. It's because you didn't want to stay up, you didn't want to study, you didn't want to put in the work and time, and you just wanted to get an A. You want the same outcome but with less work. So I don't take too kindly to in people who are intentionally enhancing themselves that way. Um, yeah, that's my own thing though.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's understandable, but also a lot of people have been trying in England, not trying to cover Conor Ben up, but some people are saying that maybe he didn't know he even took it. Now, what do you think about that? Can an athlete be given some kind of an enhanced drug without them knowing they've took it? I mean, these are the conversations we're hearing.
So the drug that he's being accused of only comes in pill form, right? So so now you start to look at who's the nutritionist, who's preparing the food for you. Can you blend up a drug into a smoothie and they wouldn't know it? Yeah, you could. You could.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't. That's totally available, right?
So they
You
could
you
set they could do this by giving a fighter some kind of drugs without them knowing it, and it's possible they can do that, right?
Yeah, it's possible. The ones that are taking injections though, uh that one's a little bit, I mean, anytime a needle comes to me, even if I'm
Mm.
in the hospital, I'm asking what's in it and how many milligrams, because there's also been times where Nurses had accidentally double dosed because they didn't put in the charts or whatever. So I'm very cognizant if a needle's coming towards me, and even taking pills when they give it to you in the hospital, because they never give it to you in a bottle, asking what it is, so I know if someone is accidentally giving me a double dosage because of their charting errors. So I mean, it's interesting to me that he is not saying anything about it. um I mean, I would want some type of explanation. um
Yeah, I mean, he came on Twitter and he explained himself on Thursday. That was
what
the
did he
last.
say?
He's just said that, he's been a clean fighter all his life. He's ready to fight this Saturday, and this is a shock to him. Like he said, he wouldn't have enrolled for this kind of a program. He's always been asked for all kinds of drug testing. That's why he's even enrolled in this VADA testing, and he don't know what's going on here. That's what he said.
It's not really an explanation.
But that's his thing. Is like he's not. He's like he ain't probably sat down or thought of everybody else around him. But what he's saying is, as his acknowledgements, he ain't a dirty fighter. Why is he even enrolled in all this shit?
See,
Like,
but
look,
that's
let's be honest, Rachel. A lot of fighters, and one of our greatest fighters is Manny Pacquiao. He didn't want to be in some VADA testing at some fights. He refused to have VADA testing in quite a few fights. A lot of fighters refuse to be in the VADA program, and I've just read, and I don't know if you knew about this, that the WBC hand in hand dropped 5 fighters in 2020 because they didn't want to enroll in the VADA program. So it's like WBC now is also recognizing people who are in the VADA program. They're like, if you're not in it, you can get dropped off their rankings. Have you heard of this?
Yes, the W. So there's okay. So I talked to you about the 24/7, 365, and then I also talked to you about the contractually, for a fight, one fight promotion kind of deal, that they can test both fighters at any time. The third type is I don't know if there's other organizations, but I know there's WBC Clean, and WBC Clean tests. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it's the top 10 ranked or top 20 ranked of every single weight division, and it comes out of WBC's own money to pay for the VADA testing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I knew about that. Yeah.
So they also, um, so what they've done, they've eliminated certain fighters off their rankings who are not enrolled in the VADA program. You know, so at the end of the day, it just seems like to me, some people want to recognize, some people don't want to recognize. At this point, it just seems a little bit, not straight, clear cut. We know a man's been done for something which is after steroids, you take clemedifine or some kind of a drug which helps your testosterone get back to normal, or whatever the usage of that
Well,
clemedifine is.
yeah, it's because once you take testosterone or any of these, the ones that like boost, create the testosterone, the synthetic, pretty much, it shuts down your own body's production of testosterone. So the only way to signal your body to start producing it, we're not giving you anymore, is to take that drug, and then so it'll normalize your testosterone levels naturally again. Um,
Yeah,
Oh, I
so
guess Khan said it's top 15 in WBC. So
right, so WBC also is enabling the VADA program for some of their, like you said, with some of their um, encouraging fighters to be clean, right?
yeah.
So, do you ever worry, or does it come across your mind that how this boxing industry works, and you also know, because we've also been researching what doctors have been saying, we've been researching what Victor Conte has been saying, we've been researching what this doctor has been talking about. His name's Osman Sajjad, and he said that basically that there's many drugs out there that you can avoid the system, undetectable drugs, and also you got to know when to take them and when not to take them, and especially with certain doping agencies, you just got to know how to do these things. Does that ever give you a worry when your husband's fighting and that there is a lot of dirty play in this sport?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, you have to, I mean, in all things. I mean, even look at COVID, like there's always something new, right? And then VADA or any drug testing agency for that matter has to be able to find those trace elements of that quote unquote drug through their laboratory testing and be able to identify the biomarkers of that drug within it, the chemical substances that pretty much can identify that drug within your blood or your urine. So it's always a game of catch up with these things. Like you identify this one, and guess what? A new designer one came out that flushes within 24 hours, whatever. So it's always really difficult in them trying to catch these things. And yeah, of course we are. That's why Nonito like pushes for his fights to be VADA testing. Because of the fact that it's too prevalent in the sport. So it's more so that it's better that there is rather than there's none at all. Because for you to be able to honestly, let's just fighters are fighters outside of the ring aren't exactly the most detail oriented people. Okay. They don't, like, most of them have an entourage to do stuff for them. So you would have to have if someone on call 24/7 that if Vada is, let's just say Vada showed up at my house and my dad was here and he calls me, it's like Vada's here. You would have to have someone on call that quickly and be like, what do I do? And he's like, go get orange juice from Whole Foods. I don't know, I'm making this up. But that can advise you on the spot because like I said, VADA they don't announce. So you can't time it that way. The only thing you can time, you're getting drug tested the night of the fight. But between the signing of the contract and the night of the fight, you don't know when they're going to come.
Right, I understand. I get you. But at the end of the day, like right, there's a lot of different play in the sport. So have you ever been in a situation where Nonito Donaire fighting and the other fighters have been caught or had any positive test or something's come up behind the scenes or that you've had to, well, has anything ever happened like that?
Not yet. No, not yet. Luckily not yet. Yeah. I mean, the only one that was questionable, we've never had an issue with any of the other fighters doing VADA. Never. Even Rigondeaux did VADA against us. And, and so I never understood. There was never a question. I think when they fight Nonito, it's almost this level of expectation that he's going to ask for VADA.
So do you ever fight anyone without VADA testing?
No.
Oh, you don't fight people who don't do VADA?
Mm-mm.
But say if the fighter requests not to do VADA.
They don't have to. Nah, well, Sean Gibbons didn't know how to fill out the VADA paperwork. He thought you could turn in a blank paperwork for the Casemiro fight and that was going to make it go through some magic way. So that was the first and only time that we've had a problem with a fighter or his manager not sending in the VADA paperwork not sending in the VADA paperwork.
Was Inoue on the VADA program? Inoue.
Yep.
Okay. So there's so many contracts that we're learning, like out of Manny Pacquiao's fights, out of Lee McGregor fights, out of some other people's fights who don't have VADA. And these people are contracted to fight, like Keith Thurman. He agreed not to get drug tested to that level. So there is a lot of fights. If both fighters agree, they don't have to get tested like that.
They don't have to unless the promoter, which, like I said, we rarely ever see a promoter say, want to put out that money. Because normally if the fighter demands the other fighter, if the promoter is not willing, then the other fighter is going to have to pay out of pocket. And we've been always willing to do that. That's never been an issue for us. Like, we were like, okay, well, yeah, I understand the program's expensive, so I'll pay for the programming.
Hey, man.
I've never actually been in a position where I've had to pay for the opponent. I've always offered it, but the promoter has always picked up the tab.
All right, look, hey, we got no other than Mrs. Donaire, Rachel Donaire, over here in the building. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. This is Rapstar. I'm going to ask a couple more questions this way now. Now we know about Conor Benn. We've heard what's happened. We've lost a big fight out here in England. Fans have mixed emotions. Now we found out there was a doctor involved. And what we're finding out now that the trainer, Tony Sims, would you, like people are saying, like he obviously knows about it. This is how people talk. Would you expect if a fighter's taking something that you'd expect his trainer's part of it? Do you think it goes like that?
No, no, no. I mean,
No?
and I don't believe so because if you're gonna take anything, you're not gonna do it in the plain sight of everybody, right? So trainer, boxer shows up at the gym. Does anybody want to see him getting injected or taking down pills before his training so someone can run around and be like, hey, he's taking this or that? Most of the time it's under the cloak of darkness, and it's within the privacy of their own home, not even a doctor's office, because that would be questionable if you went to the doctor's office every day. So I mean, I never even, let's pretend, let's play devil's advocate and say he knew. Okay, he knew. Doesn't matter. If he was going around and doing this, he's a grown ass adult and needs to take his lickings. I honestly think that Twitter, the tweet that you said, and how he's like, I've always been a clean fighter, blah 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 blah. I'm like, so what is your resolution to this? Like, there was no end point to this. It was like, I don't know. It was like, God, anyone can just say, I don't know. But are you going to look into it? Are you going to talk to the people who were giving you supplements? Like I said, like some people will be like, oh, this is just vitamin C, bro. Or the people that were maybe he had meal prep, was the people that making meal prep cross contaminated somehow, some way, and randomly put that stuff in. I don't know, but you have to at least like take it upon yourself that if you're saying that you're clean, then also fight for your name. And it doesn't sound too much to me that he really gives a shit that he popped positive. He's just like, I'm a clean fighter, blah blah blah, and kind of just shrugs, like it is what it is. Like, believe me or not,
I mean,
you
there's
should
been a
want to
lot of
fight for it.
fighters. There's been a lot of fighters when you're at the top and you think people are shaming you, or a lot of athletes in gymnastics and Olympics and all that. They start getting breakdown in that. Some people get, I don't know, I've heard they get suicidal in that. I mean, is it a big pressure at the moment? I mean, it could be a lot of things. I don't know. I'm just throwing out there, these Olympians, you've seen some of these young Olympians, they've been under a lot of pressure when they've got caught on certain things. You see people, they crumble, but I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, are they really going to do anything to Conor Benn? We've seen in the past, it's a first offense. At this point, we've seen that many fighters get a slap on the wrist. What are they going to do? What is your experience that you think? What would be the punishment logically, you think, when you've seen the cycle of what normally happens?
I honestly think there should be a fine because, I mean, you just wasted everyone's time and effort to put this fight together and all the support of the fans that was backing you. I think that they should have to be mandated, just like Canelo was, into the 24 365. Um, and they should have to pay for it to prove that you understand like what this is. Like, this is not a joke. Like, if you just like slap them on the wrist, like, oh, okay, well, so apparently you guys really don't give a shit about if I do or not. Like, it's just a roll off. But if there's a consequence, whether it's pulling him like 5 down points on the ranking or whatever, there has to be something. Or if you're not, like, for example, if you cheat in school and they catch you and they just say, okay, we're going to tell your mom, and they're like, okay, tell my mom. But if you cheat in school and they say you're expelled right off the damn bat, there'll be a lot less people trying to cheat. There is no guideline or rule right now. There's no, like, you're like, oh, I'm going to be scared, what are you going to do? Like, what's the consequence? Nothing. I'm just going to be roasted on Twitter for a couple months. Okay, I didn't gain any money. I also didn't lose any money. So it's no sweat off my back. There's nothing.
I mean, you do realise that the British Boxing Board of Control were not suspending Conor Benn. They just said that they're not happy to sanction the fight, but they're not going to suspend him until further notice and whatever they're going to look into. But that gave the opportunities for the promoters to look at different angles and where they could stage the fight. Now, I don't know if you've been looking at this carefully, but for us in England, it's become a big thing. A big fight that put a lot to the media across the world has become one of the biggest controversies in boxing now. But Mr. Eubank Sr. came on a podcast yesterday night, and he said that this was basically the worst kind of boxing event they put together. They tried to drain my son at 33 to bring him at 157, not to mention what he needs to do to get to that weight, where he's never been. Then with this situation, they still allowed it for 2 weeks. So Eddie Hearn and the other promoter were still pushing for the fight, trying to work out if they can still stage this fight while these tests that they wanted to work out with the lawyers and attorneys behind the scenes to postpone it and give it some time, and then they'll deal with it later. They were trying to make this fight until somebody whistleblowed to the newspapers, and then they said, well, you know, they don't want to sanction it. What do you think about this? They knew about this 2 weeks ago, Eddie Hearn did, and Cal Sauerland, and they were still trying to push for this fight. What do you think about that?
I mean, of course they are. I mean, the amount of tickets that they sold in how short of a time, they're trying to do everything to save, you know, the money that is in their pocket. But it does. If you had 2 weeks, right? And again, within this 2 weeks, I would have expected you, if I was Conor Benn, to say, please test my B sample. They had 2 weeks. He could have tested the B sample and hallelujah, that one's negative. But they weren't even trying to go there. So that one is already questionable to me. So if you were to say that they were, for 2 weeks, they didn't announce it because they wanted to be an 100% positive that this test was positive for PD because they tested both A and B samples, and the reason that they took so long in announcing it is because they were holding out hope that it was a false positive, then I would have understood that. But it doesn't surprise me the way that they tried to still pull it off, because at the same time, you have to also remember, we go back to Oscar Valdez fight, right? That fight still went through. So whatever, and let me preface this by saying that the BBB,
that fight that you reminded us of Oscar Valdez, because you just reminded me, was that morally wrong? Because they also said he failed the test, but then they did a meeting to say, well, you know, it's not that much of an enhanced drug. It's not going to help him that much, so we're going to carry on the fight. The fight's not in America anyway. It's in somewhere else, won it. So for that reason, they could allow it because it wasn't in the States or something. I'm not sure.
it was, so in the States that we had, the Indian reservations are considered sovereign nation, so they don't abide by the same rules that we do. So the fight was on in a casino on an Indian reservation. That's why it had Indian commission, if that makes sense.
Please carry on.
So it was in the U.S.
Yeah. So yeah, what was you saying?
I lost my train of thought. Where were we going with this?
When you said about Oscar Valdez, that the fight still happened. For Oscar Valdez, the fight still happened. Why did Eddie Hearn push it to the last minute for this fight when there was so much money involved, but morally it was wrong?
So I think, well, first of all, there's not a lot of moral and ethics in boxing anyway. So let's just throw that piece out the goddamn window, okay? That's not even a word in boxing.
There is no morals in boxing then, yeah?
No, there isn't. So that's not even in the conversation.
Is there no morals in trying to have clean contracts? Is there no morals that a fighter's taking steroids? They need to avoid this fight because it's morally wrong, that managers and promoters need to take some kind of moral, within themselves. I mean, isn't that cheating? That's cheating. So what you're saying is everybody's a cheat out here. When it comes to business, they're protecting each other.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I want to, if I was in Eddie Hearn's shoes, and if you're telling me lawyers were involved, My speculation is that they took a book from Valdez's mishap with the drugs and stuff, and how the Indian Reservation Commission had pretty much wiped it under the rug, and Aram was dancing around saying, "Yay, we still get a fight," right? Being that the BBB of C is a private entity and not government ran, I feel like they were looking for something within their bylaws that it was a loophole that they could use to be able to get this fight to continue on, and hoping that if you're like, we got you here on this clause, it says this and that, and this and that, and BBBFC would be like, oh, okay, all right, well, we'll still sanction the fight then. I think he was holding out hope by having these lawyers involved looking through all the bylaws of the BBFC. And unfortunately for him, it didn't turn out the way it did because of the fact that someone had whistleblown it, and then they were held accountable. BBFC was accountable for, their image and what they were doing, what their reaction was. Now it's on a world stage and everybody knows about it. So what are you going to say? Yes or no? And that would, whatever they decide will ultimately snowball to fights after that, right? Like, so they're like, oh, well, so I can take it too, and I'm not going to be, BBBFC didn't do anything, and it's just going to be a previous case for the next person if they allow the fight to go through.
No, yeah, and I understand, but some people feel like the father of CHRIS Eubanks. I don't know. Did you see his interview yesterday?
No, said, but I've seen I kind of heard some of the audio, yeah. And then I've heard people print about it.
Yeah, he just was very emotional, and as a father, he says, I understand the sport, because he's also nearly put somebody in brain damage himself when he used to be in the sport. And he said that this is very morally wrong in what they've done. And he said that by them pushing for the fight was never something they, basically they should be doing. So what he said is that he's coming for them. Now, what that means is maybe legally or whatever he could say, or maybe he was just an emotional at that moment, But as a father, I mean, what do you expect them to think? Because he's thinking promoters and my son's promoter are still pushing for the fight because his son was as an excess of making $10 million. That's life-changing money for a fighter that's not living off, but that was his legacy fight for his dad's legacy, what they done 30 years ago. So it became a huge fight in England, right? So he's making a lot of money out of it. So at that point, they're telling him, yo, CHRIS Eubank, don't worry about it. We're going to get the lawyers to deal with this. Are you still happy to have the fight? You got a lot of money here. He spent a lot of money on the camp. So he thought, okay, if the fight's still going to carry on, my promoter's still saying it can carry on, then, I'm just going to keep fighting because I'm going to make multi-millions. But the father's saying that they're setting my son up and he's an idiot because he doesn't understand that they're setting him up. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think he, of course, is being emotional because that's his son and he has every right to be emotional. Do I feel like it's unwarranted? I don't, because if you look at, if he feels like there is a direction where they have Conor Benn's back more than they have his son's, then he has a leg to stand on. Because let me tell you this, when we were fighting Casemiro and I called Richard and Al and said, hey, Nonito's done with this game. He's like, he's done. We're done. We've been waiting for this freaking paper for a week and they're, playing games. We're done. And, they asked me, can you think about it for 24 hours? And I was like, sure. And he's like, well, we'll respect whatever you have, because if you believe that he could be, and I was like, it's not that we believe that he could be. I'm not alleging him of doing anything. I was like, but we're on this, we're going to be on a fair playing field as much as we can. And they're playing games. So let's, we want to pull out. And 24 hours later, Nonito's mind didn't change. We told him, and he said, if you don't feel safe signing to go through with this fight, and we signed the fight, by the way, They allowed us to pull out. That's someone who's looking at your best interests and not just looking at making money. And if they were still trying to push this fight, knowing that there was a dirty test out there, then you wonder, are they really in your corner? I don't believe a lot of, I think promoters' favorite fighters change as much as their underwear. You could be on their good graces one fight, the next fight they're trying to get someone to kick you out of there, so then your minimum on your contract goes down because you just lost, and they wouldn't have to pay you a stupid amount of money anymore.
I mean, it's a dodgy business, isn't it? When you know that at the end of the day that people are not in there for your interest, they're in there just for the money. Like you know, it kind of starts to show that there's exposing our sport. When we're seeing that this fight is in the behind the scenes, they're keeping people quiet, but you know, some illegal activities have happened, adverse findings have been found. They're still pushing for the fight and keeping the fans all hyped up. And then last minute, the newspaper gets a whistle blow, and the newspaper puts out there that this fight should not be going on because Conor Benn is being or had a positive test for having steroids. So about 2 hours later, everybody in England which was watching the, you know, ready for the pre-workout, should I say, on Thursday, now we're looking at a big shambles. Eddie Hearn quietly says, well, you know, at the end of the day, we're still going ahead with this fight. We don't know what's going on there. We're going to find out about it, but we're still going ahead with this fight. Everybody's still on Thursday thinking this fight's going on. Conor Benn says, I'm in shock. I don't know what's going on here. This is not something I'm about. I'm a very clean athlete. We're still going to fight on Saturday. That's all I know. Eubanks has still signed to fight us. We're going to fight. And everybody's still thinking the fight's going to go on. But now, then the British Boxing Border Control comes on afterwards and make a statement to say, well, you know, they're not interested in this fight anymore. But we're not going to suspend Conor Benn. So then these guys are saying, well, if they don't want to be interested, we're going to maybe sanction this fight with another governing body, right? So these talks were going on and everybody was, and then this looked like a cover-up story because the next day they come in the morning and say, well, no, this fight can't happen now. So it's like they already premeditated knew Thursday that they're not going to make this fight. But they lied to us, trying to cover it up is the way it feels. So they don't expose themselves. Because in some respect, they're showing how they've exposed the crooked business in boxing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, that's why, like I said, I always suspected, I long suspected, because I never see it whenever a promotional does the contract with VADA, right? It's the contract is between VADA and the promotional. I've only seen between one fighter and VADA. So I've never seen the promotional, but I've noticed that certain promotions allow them to run free and Twitter things and make announcements, and then other times you don't hear anything. And so that's why when Eddie Hearn in one, I can't remember which article it was, I'd have to look it up, but he said it's confidential. The reason why no one heard about it is that it was confidential between Matchroom, Eubank, Conor Benn, BBBSC, and I think it was another promoter, maybe a co-promoter, and that they were and they were the only ones that were to know of the test. Yeah. So him saying that confirmed to me what I thought the entire time.
What did it confirm to you?
That there's some type of confidentiality agreement on the results with some of these promoters.
Okay, so I've heard of this. So let's clear it up for the people who don't understand this. So when you're involved in this doping test, right, it doesn't mean everything that happens is out there for the public. It's confidential for the people and the parties which are in that business only. So when you sign a non-disclosure agreement, You are not allowed to say what you know also. So
Mm-hmm.
this is very confidential unless you're in the business. So there's a lot of stuff that happens that people know about, but they can't say because they signed something to be quiet. So even though this is very confidential, it could happen maybe if this is what's exposing, right? If both parties agree and they're willing to sign, then many fights like this have happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you get where
Mm-hmm.
we're coming from, Rachel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree.
They've
I believe it.
exposed themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see it time and time again. I think like there's so many, I mean, you've heard me talk on punches. And when we go over contracts and promotionals and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said at the very end of this, what it'll tell you, it'll say this agreement's confidential. So you always hear speculations, right? Like, oh, um, uh, Tom Jerry is making 1 million as is guaranteed. No one really knows. It's not, you don't know if he gets training expenses or he gets whatever. Like it's all speculation because on the bottom of that contract it says confidential. There's a confidentiality clause.
So let's just keep it clear here now. Ladies and gentlemen, if the newspapers never came out with it, nobody would have known about this.
No.
This would have been a confidential situation for not your ears, not mine, and not Rachel's, because none of
Yep.
us are in their business. It was a particular contract between two people, and if one person's dirty and the fight still agreed to go on, it's between them. It's not between you.
And I do think that, senior, Eubank Senior, when he
Yeah.
was saying they're trying to kill my son,
Mm.
him, I don't blame the fighter. I don't blame Junior. You know why? Because, like you said, this is his biggest payday. And guess what?
Yeah.
He's trained for what, 11 weeks to come into the 12th week of camp, to
Yeah.
close out and to come into the fight, ready to make weight, ready for everything, only for the rug to be pulled out from underneath him. No fighter wants that. That's why most of the time you see fighters, even though someone comes in overweight, they still fight. For example, who the hell was it the other day? Oh, was it Shakur and Konsakow again? Poor
Yeah.
guy. I feel bad for that guy. He gets one with a dirty test, the next one doesn't make like.
Yeah.
Honestly, me and Onito talked about it. I was like, would you still fight? And he was like, yeah. I was like, a pound and a half over. He was like, yeah. He's like, why not? And I was like, because it's stupid. I was like, he didn't even try. And he said, but I trained. I was like, I hear you and I understand. I was like, I was like, let's pretend you're not Nonito and and you're Konsakow and you have to fight Shakur. Okay. And your odds of winning are not exactly the prettiest. Okay.
Mm.
And now he has a pound and a half advantage. We're in the state of New Jersey, and New Jersey is going to still pay me if I walk away. Okay.
Yeah.
And they'll make an example out of anyone who decides that they want to use weight as their advantage. And in addition, the risk level of me fighting Shakur and losing versus Shakur getting shoved off into the next weight division and being the number one person to fight for the vacant title with a lesser opponent, I like my odds there better. I get paid. I don't have to take a beating, risk a loss, and I can not pick my opponent, but it'll be a lesser caliber,
Mm.
assumingly,
Mm.
than Shakur. That's how I would have maneuvered it as a manager.
But now you can't convince the fighter sometimes because the fighter's been dieting, training so hard that the fighter has put himself into a lifetime opportunity. Like Chris Eubanks Jr. was making $10 million. He only makes not even $1 million or not even a $500,000 normally a fight. This was a once in a lifetime opportunity for him.
He was going to still get paid,
Yeah,
rap star.
yeah.
No, so if he doesn't need that once in a lifetime opportunity. The money that he signed on the contract, he was still going to get paid for. So Okay, I get that you just, it's not like you're gonna go home with an empty purse. You're
How's he
still
going to get
getting,
paid? How's he going to get paid? Because he was going to get the pay-per-view upside. He was going to get a fixed salary, a 3 million. Now the fight
so
never happened. How does he get paid?
okay, so he would still get his guarantee.
What's his guarantee? The guarantee they were going to give him the 3 million.
Yes,
So he will still get a $3 million.
yes, but
But they're
not the
not
pay-per-view
saying that.
upside.
They're saying that
Who?
Chris Eubanks have done all this. He ain't getting this money. Like, how does he
Well,
still get
yeah,
the guaranteed
but
three
that's what I'm
million?
saying. That was New Jersey law.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. New Jersey law is that way.
but not
It's
England.
a
Chris
not
Eubanks
England.
nothing.
Yes.
He ain't getting nothing.
Well, and that's why I told you that I understand, that Junior still wanted to fight. I get it. Because if he walked away, he was going to walk away with nothing. I get it. Do I think that Senior is out of his mind for what he was saying? No, but he has to tell his son, I don't know if he needed to tell the world, but he had to tell his son, like, these guys aren't looking at your best interest, dude. Like, look,
Well,
they're
that's
on
what he
the other
said.
guy's side.
He said, Rachel, that my son knows that what I know, what I've done in boxing, I've cleared a path for him to make safe decisions. My son doesn't understand. He's getting too involved in these people, which are showing him too much money. And now he's looking like a greedy pig because he could have outlined his fights. I told him to fight Liam Smith. You'll get a little bit less, but you'll get a good few million. Then go and fight Billy Joe Saunders again as your rematch with him. And then go get the Canelo fight. That's what he said. He said, I've outlined this for him. But he wants to take this fight when it's all wrong. And they're trying to drain him 3 pounds at 33 years old. He goes, my son's never been at 157. He goes, whatever he's getting to 157 is a dangerous situation. They're trying to murder my son. That's what he said. Now, I don't want to even use it as a banter because him being a father and being a world champion, when he's saying they trying to fuck with my son here, then I've got to take him serious too because he knows the sport better than me.
No, at no point do I feel like he was out of character to say the things that he said. Like you said, he has the credentials, he also has the position as his father, and that's his son. So I completely understand what he's saying, and I don't fault him at all for it. The question is, it comes to what is the relationship between the two that he's not heeding your warnings? Because I will tell you, I've been in business meetings in boxing so many times, and I'll walk out, and as soon as I walk out, I'm like, I don't like that guy. I'm like, I don't like that guy. I was like, he's sleazy. There's something up his sleeve. I was like, there's something wrong. And I would say 9 out of 10, I'm right about
Then you guys
people
don't do
pushing.
business with people like that.
No, they end up. I mean, they always end up showing their ass eventually. So I don't really have to do much. But at least I put that warning out there. I told him, keep an eye on that guy. Don't get too close to him. Watch him. He's going to show you something soon that is not going to be in line with how you operate.
Well,
And it happens.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your husband, if you don't mind, with my channel, because there's a lot of people who come through Europe who maybe
Hmm.
want to hear this. What is happening with the Filipino Flash? The legend himself, Nanito Donet. Do you have anything to tell the fans? We also know that after his flash loss, we'll call it a flash loss because we never even expected him to lose like that.
Nope.
And I'm sure you probably didn't.
Nope. Nope. Yeah. Um, what's happening with him? So I mean, after the fight, it was really, Nonito is one of the most positive people that you will ever meet, and really takes the time to dig down deep and figure out things. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie. When we walked out of that ring, we went to the bathroom, and I was helping him clean up, and then he had to take the VADA test too. And I had a heart to heart with him. I was like, we can't do that again. I was like, he's like, I didn't see it. I was like, I understand. I was like, but for whatever reason, it didn't work tonight. Like, whatever obstacles you need to tell me because we're not doing this again. And at first, he said he was retiring. And within 24 hours, he's like, no, he's like, I did this wrong. I did that. He's like, I leaned the wrong way. I did it, blah, 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 blah. And honestly, like we said before, it was when he got hit, he didn't see the punch. So he literally thought he slipped until he looked at me. And then I told him to put his hands up, and then he's like, oh shit, I got knocked. When he got back to the corner, nothing I said he heard. All he knew is he was going to go out on his shield. He didn't hear a damn word you ask him. He doesn't remember anything I said. He was like, I guess I better go for it. Right. That's the part of the fighter in him that pisses me off a lot of the time.
So wait, can we just stop there? Because I want the fans to understand that when you were talking to him, he wasn't focused on that.
No.
So is that already a red flag for you?
It was. And like, hindsight's a bitch.
I really appreciate
right?
your honesty right here on Rapstar. We got a lot of Nonito fans here, and I really appreciate you being... We've never heard this before. This is first time I'm hearing this on my channel. So
no, we were literally supposed to go live about it. And then we were like, I mean, does it really matter? Like, okay, so during that time, and the corner will tell you, Mike Basil, our cutman will tell you, so will Tony Diaz, he'll tell you, like, we were talking to him. Like, I was saying something, and then because Basil was right in the middle, he like grabbed him, he's like, Nonito, he's like, listen, blah, 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 blah. Nonito's looking at the fucking replay screen. He's wondering how the fuck he got hit. He's not listening anymore. And what we told him was like, you need to box this round out, get your legs back underneath you, recompose yourself, buy you some time. He fucking did the complete goddamn opposite. Now,
that really frustrated you, didn't it? That really, I can tell.
Because
that frustrated you, Rachel, because I've seen how you've been and how analyzed you are, and that must have frustrated you.
It did, and and it really, I had gone online and I looked at stuff, and they're like, it's his coach's fault. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, if you had heard, like, if there was a mic on me or something that you could hear what I said, the last thing I would tell my husband is to fucking go battle it out right now, right? I'm not that stupid, but a lot of people think I am.
I'm going to say very honestly, I'm so glad you've come out with this for the first time, because we had this conversation once, Rachel, and we said, Rachel's she must have given him a way more, analyzed situation at that point. But nobody said nothing because we have a lot of respect for you. But we saw people saying, oh, you didn't give him the right game plan. And, it was like, I'm glad you're telling us now, because we also realized that you must have had a strategy in place.
Yes.
But yeah, please go ahead, because I like hearing this now, because I didn't like how people were blaming you, as well.
Well, there was fans that were blaming me, and then there was, I'm not going to say who, but there was someone close to Nonito that was talking about, like, well, if I was in the corner, I would have said this to him and this and that. And I'm reeling it back, and I'm like, y'all were in the same position with Walters, and he didn't listen to you either. Because when Nonito got hurt with Walters, what did he go do? Go try to kill Walters. The exact same thing. Nonito does that. And that's one of those things that you have to literally electric collar him to rein him back in. And to the fact that what I was saying, that hindsight's a bitch. If Nonito didn't put his gloves up, the referee would have stopped it. Okay?
Right.
Okay. If I knew that Nonito that was coming back to my corner was not there, I would not have signaled him to put his hands up. The referee told us in the locker room, he doesn't care what you say. You have to put your hands up. Why do you think when he looked at me and I put my hands next to my chin, he immediately put his hands up?
Right. Just a quick reminder.
Yes. But, it was a wake-up call. He's like, oh, shit, I got knocked. He's like, what the fuck happened? And then he came, sat down in the corner. And if I had known in hindsight, right, if I had a crystal ball that gave me 50 seconds into the future to see that when he sat down, he wasn't there, I would have not instructed him to put his hands up. And then guess what? It would have been a very controversial stoppage. They would have been like, Nonito was talking to you. What are you doing? Why didn't you? When the referee is going to have to explain that I told him he had to put his hands up, but Nonito was there. Why didn't you let him keep fighting? It would have been controversial. It would have been questionable. There might have been a third one, but I couldn't see in the future, and I was betting that Nonito was okay, and he wasn't.
You're just keeping it real.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, as fans, we were a little bit surprised. We were, because he can hold his own, and especially, you know, we were surprised because the punches he was getting hit with at some point, he couldn't see them.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what was little bit was, we knew he was better than that, and it was just like the way you've explained it. You probably can't be more honest about it yourself. Is that he wasn't listening to command. He took his own situation in that fight, and he did the same thing he did with Nicholas Walters. Yeah, I mean, but you know, look, there obviously was, like you said, there was talks about retirement that didn't last. He's
No,
already
it didn't
done
last.
more than most people in the sport. You at first said you're not doing this no more.
Yeah.
But he's back, right? Now he's back. We know he's still active. He wants to do something. What's the plan?
So we did ask for the Ioka fight. Ioka's team and I believe Franco's team said that they were in negotiation. I don't know where that is at this point, but we know that Franco was pricing himself high. And then Estrada, we saw him in Hermosillo. Of course, we put that line out there. And we're Nonito was too tall. We met one of his team members. I don't know which one, but he was like, I didn't know you were that big. And we were like, no, and I told him.
So you mean they sized your husband up? They sized him up?
Yeah, we had a face off. But
Okay.
Nonito was wearing like, I don't know if he was wearing Christian Louboutin sneakers or Louis Vuitton sneakers. But there's like a little platform on them. They're not like flat sneakers. So it gives them at least a half an inch more. And so I'm like, babe, I'm like, stop standing so tall, because the guy's like, oh yeah, we're not gonna allow this fight to happen. And I was like, shit, here we go.
Now the people
And
in the
then
chat want to ask. I can see what they want to know as well a little bit, because I've seen the chat go around. Is what did Nonito do when you told him you weren't listening to me though? Like, you went in your own hands. Like, he's a warrior. I can imagine Nonito done it when he sees red. He ain't listening, right? Now, I don't know. Did he say to you, look, did he tell you why he wasn't focused for that moment, or why he went in and why he couldn't listen to you?
he said he couldn't hear. He didn't hear a word I said.
But you're loud. I mean, no, I don't mean that. I mean, you're very vocal. I can imagine you really.
Well, that's why the cutman who was in the center of the ring on the corner, like, looked at him, like grabbed him and was like, repeated what I said. But he said he's like, I couldn't tell you what you said in the corner. He's like, I don't know what you said. And that was a level of contention for us. In the bathroom, of course, when we first had, nobody there and just me and him. He was like, I'm sorry. I was like, you don't have anything to be sorry for. And he was like, I didn't see it. And I was like, it's fine. And I was like, I don't need you here to say you're sorry. I know you trained hard. Things happen. I was like, but I'm just going to tell you, I can't stand here and do this. I was like, we're not doing this. And I think that might have triggered him, because so after he got changed, before we left the locker room, he had a meeting with the rest of the team, and he told everyone he was quitting. And there was tears all over. Everyone has been on this ride with him for more than a decade. And, they all told him that he was proud of them. Jesse Vargas there, Jelena was there. not a dry eye in the locker room. And again, within
I'll
12
tell you why I
hours,
have to admire this. I do admire this. Is even after the biggest blow, because you know we were there supporting Nonito in the fight. We wanted to see the fight and as what it was meant to be, like it was supposed to be with him. Um, what I do admire from him and you is that he came straight live on his social media and said, "Look, it is what it is." Like, you know when they say like he didn't duck no smoke. Like I saw
yeah,
him come on his live, and he just said, "Look." Like you could see he was gutted, but at
yeah,
the end of the day, just to see him just say, "Look, if you want to say something, say it." But you know, it is what it is. It's happened now. I've lost, and I've lost to a better man. And you know, you know, he came straight on the screen. That's a bit of a courage because most fighters they don't want to talk to the fans right now. Are you crazy, Errol Spence or Terence Crawford or these guys like Tank and these guys ain't coming to do that for the fans if they lost. I'm just saying,
yeah.
you know,
They're hiding.
that was nice to see that he came to acknowledge all his fans, even you know, just to let them know, man, I lost, and that was, you know, I kind of looked at that and said, you know what, I respect that. That a lot of fighters wouldn't do that with the fans when they lose straight away, you know.
Yeah, especially the way that he lost. But it, like I said, for him, it's such a process. So, again, like that night that he called our son, our both of our sons, but it was the older one because the younger one is like, "Hi, Papa," like he's no care in the world. But the older one really knew what happened, and he wouldn't come to the phone. And he knew he had to show up stronger if he was going to teach his sons that losses were lessons and you have to make the appropriate step after and take accountability for which step you're going to go. So, um, so yeah, we went to Cabo, celebrated my birthday. We've been very active with the boys, which most of the time we aren't because of of camp. We have my mom, my kid sister, that if we can't make it to pick them up or whatever, watch them, then they'll step in. Um, so it's been a really good summer for us, so that we've been able to be with the boys. And it's, for me, I've been, really working on, like, okay, I shouldn't really give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, I know what I've done and I know what we did. I know what, from Ubali to Gabayo, and to get this stage from a management position and as a training position, I know what game plans we were working on. We weren't taking this lightly at all. And it's, you look back and you're like, shit, was this a problem? Was this a problem? Was that a problem? Because honestly, when we came back, and no one knows about this, there's a picture, someone in the Philippines had noticed it. There's a team picture the week of the fight, and I have a bruise on my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was, yeah, there's a bruise on the inside of my arm. Left, right, my right arm, I think. Yeah, it's my right arm. And people were speculating that Nonito had hit me or something on the mitts or something. And there was only a couple people that knew that when I got to Japan, I actually got hospitalized for a bit.
Oh,
So it
nobody
took
know
me
about
out
that.
of the,
Nobody knows that.
no. And so,
What
so
happened?
I
What
internally,
happened?
um, they're speculating I had a reaction to the mask that was given to me. Because like I didn't expect that you had to wear a mask because we don't have to wear it here in the U.S. So I had gotten one from, I don't know, the TSA or whatever, and I don't know if it was a generic mask or whatever. But anyway, wearing it for 12 plus hours on the plane, I got an infection and my nose swole up, like I looked like a freaking elephant. It was bad. Um, and they had to pump me with antibiotics. And so that's where the bruise came from. They actually gave me an IV of antibiotics because it was so, the infection had spread so fast. And so I was, yeah, so they pumped me full of antibiotics on an IV. And that's where I got the bruise. And it was still a little bit, the press conference, I wouldn't take off my mask. If you look at the pictures, like
Mm.
Nonito has his mask off, but I won't take off my mask, and that's because the infection was still there, and my nose was still swollen from it, and I wouldn't take it off. I was like, nope. My dad's like, we should take pictures. Take off your mask. I'm like, I'm not fucking taking off my mask.
Yeah. So wow, this is very serious shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So from there, right? Like, so when you look back at a loss, like you look at every single thing that happened and you wonder, like, shit, was he worried about me? Was it my fault? Did I distract him because I had to go to the hospital? Like, like
I
you
mean,
you
look,
you
I gotta
internal.
keep it real with you, Rachel. I'm gonna just keep it 100. It was weird to see Nonito Donaire in the second round keep coming forward like that.
Yeah.
And Nonito Donaire is a smarter fighter than just keep being in your face and taking punches like that.
Yes.
And I'm gonna keep it real. Some of those punches he took, they were not called for. Like he
Mm-hmm.
didn't, he put himself in that position. And I was like, why does he keep going forward? It's like he was in a trance. Like he wanted to keep pushing forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I know that he could have done so much to avoid that situation. But it was like he was trying to play fire with fire. And I gotta tell you, it looked a little bit brutal in the second round.
That
And
was never the game plan. You should, I mean, like, I've told him, I was like, maybe we should just release the training. Like, and this is us, like, when we were internalizing everything that happened, right? I'm like, maybe we should release the training footage and show the game plans that we had against the body shot. Like, because the things that we put together, oh my God, like, especially against the body shot was freaking amazing. It was beautiful. And we knew he was going to come for that again. So we game planned around that. The jab, his footwork, all these other things we game planned around, and we never got there.
man, this is exclusive right now. The insides of Nonito Donaire, Rachel in her camp, and what led up to the fight with the second fight, and and as we saw, the stoppage. Nobody's ever heard it like this. This is explicit, and I've got to say, I'm pretty privileged to have this content with you. And the one time that you have come, it has been real explicit. Like a lot of people have learned a lot from it. I'm learning a lot from this, and I got to say, people love what's going on in the chat. I've seen people saying, Rachel, we really appreciate your insight. That's from Danny Medina. He says that he really
Mm.
appreciates your scope from the inside. I appreciate you giving us the inside scope, Rachel. Man, look, a lot of people, this is exclusive right now. Now, what we're going to ask you now is logically, we've seen the insides. We know things were wrong. We can understand that, it wasn't going your way. You know, we can see that Nonito Donaire was fighting in a way. If you can see it yourself, you can see that in the second round, he was basically putting himself in harm's way. And it just seemed like, the punches he was taking, and I was thinking, why is he looking slow? At some
Mm-hmm.
point, even I was thinking, why is Nonito looking a bit slow here? Because we knew that he knew this fighter. We knew he knew how to deal with this guy or fight with this guy. I really tell you, man, it's been a trance. When you watch the fight, you kind of recognize that that's not Nonito Donaire. It feels like it's
No.
a shell of himself. And I don't know, but do you not feel that that performance was something that questioned you, even saying, look, saying ain't right there?
No. No. And the reason why I don't believe you're only as good as your last fight, I think that there has to be a pattern, right? Um, so based on that, the game plan we set up for Mobali and for Gabayo worked fucking perfectly. So I know he's there.
Right.
It was against Inoue, and it was a high level competition. Like this was not, everybody. I think it was like 4-1 odds for Ubali, on that fight, and everyone was counting O'Neal out, and I knew, and it's just everything you have to remember that after 12 weeks, everything has to come perfect that one night, that one night. And we made an agreement that if I see him in the gym not being who I know him to be, that he's going to take my word and he's not going to fight anymore. I haven't seen that. That's what I'm saying. Like it's so hard to, it's really difficult to base it off of, you know, that fight, because what he did before. How many times has he come back? Every single time that he's lost, he's come back, right? And everyone
Yes.
said he's done. Now,
Yes. No, no, to be
what?
honest, when he also did that to Kabali and all that, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, it wasn't something we didn't expect from the Nito Donaire. If he gets his way, then he's gonna take a fighter out, and that's what he's good at. You know, so you can't write him off in any way because, you know, at the end of the day, this guy is way better than what we saw, and that's just the way
Well,
that fans feel.
so let me put the question back to you then. Let's pretend, okay, or it might be your feeling, I don't know, but let's just say that people believe that Nonito should retire based on that loss, and that he's done. He shouldn't. He there's everyone will walk over him right now. Why the hell can't we get a fucking fight at 115?
You see,
Everyone's evading him.
you see, there you go, because it's a big threat. It's a
So
big threat.
that's what I'm saying. So you're telling me that it was that fight and he should just hang it off because of that performance. But yet, wouldn't you think, and this is my view, if I was a youngin and I saw that fight, I'd be salivating. Can I get then, and this is what they do to Manny, right? Manny Pacquiao. Can I get a legend on my record? Let me get a legend on my record because I just saw how he performed. I can get him. Give me that fight. No one is calling us to or responding to our call outs. Or if they respond, it's a really stupid high price tag, like 5 times that they've ever made on their highest career day. So
And to
apparently
yeah,
the fighters in the division don't agree that he's not still a threat.
no, he's a lot of threat, and maybe not the. You know, he's a legacy for a fighter coming up. If you want to try and beat a guy like him, because he's a big name in the sport.
Yes.
But a champion to fight him, maybe a champion will walk away because he's a threat with less rewards. Because now, now Nonito Donaire is not like Keith Thurman. Like Keith Thurman is another guy who's done a lot in the sport. Not like Nonito Donaire, he's done more. But Keith Thurman is in a position where if he fights the younger guys, he can get millions, but he can't win a belt. So he wants to
Mm-hmm.
wait to fight an Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, because he's an old timer. He's a man who's a veteran, just like Nonito Donaire now. He's a veteran. Now Keith Thurman lost, but he's a veteran. So he wants the big fight if he's going to come to the table now. Is that how you guys feel? That you want a big fight if you're going to come to the table, or
No,
you're happy to fight another name coming up?
no, we okay. So from what he's told me, his dream is to still do the 115 and capture that, because you were talking about it on Punches about interims. Nonito had 115 interim, and he does not view that as a world champion. He doesn't say he's a 5 division. He wants to be a solidified 5 division with a full title, not interim. That's the only reason Nonito wants to go down. So the only reason he's going to go down is if he fights for a title. That's it. There's only, for us, it's not about like, okay, we're going to wait for the big money fight, because I've said this so many times. There's a reason you don't see us flash. We're not those people.
Mm,
Like, we did that when we were younger. We did that,
right.
you know, 2 years into our relationship, we bought stupid designers and stupid suits and dresses and stuff like that, and people ask me, listen, I went to the wedding of Gilberto from the
Mm.
WBA. I went to the wedding, and people were like, "Oh my God, your dress is so beautiful," um, and they're like, "What designer?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? This is from Walmart." And they're like, "You're lying." I was like, "It's Go check my IG. It was $23.49 on Walmart." I was like, that. I was like, I'm not going to spend money on a dress that I can't use again because you took pictures in it. I was like, I did that. That was dumb. Nonito bought me a whole wardrobe of Hervé. Dumb. Thousands of dollars on dresses I could only use once, especially with social media. So we have two cars. One's the we're going on date night car, and the other one's the family car.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no reason for me to purchase a bunch of cars that's going to sit in the garage.
Just keeping it simple.
We keep it simple, and we've invested, and I have my own career, like I've said before, that racks in.
But
And
let's be honest though, the Donets have never been a show off. Like I'm gonna keep it real,
no,
yeah.
yeah,
Even Nonito Donet as a man, a lot of I like we a lot of people we like the guy because he's very humble. Even when he beat Kabali and all these guys and started winning world titles again, man, he came and he just normal and he's like he's got no ego about him, right? So he even when he's humble in victory and he's humble in the loss. And I can honestly say Nonito Donet has got no ego about him. Now, if I was in
no.
his shoe, if I was in his shoes, or a lot of boxers were in his shoes, they would have a lot of ego, right? But he understands who he is. He knows the sport is a sport, and he ain't taking it to the point where he knows when he's done with the sport, he's just trying to be real about it. He's not trying to say like he's a superstar like everybody else because he can also act like that if he wants to.
He had his moments. He had his moments.
Back in the day,
4 years into our marriage. So 2 years splurged. By years three
sometimes
and
it gets
four,
to you, innit? Like
it
it
got
takes
to
you to
him.
another level. Like every fighter, they think there's like a machine sometimes, don't they? Like they're God. What do you think about that?
Were you not here when we told that story where he threatened me with divorce one day?
No, I want to hear it
He,
now. On Rapstar,
okay.
did Nonito Donaire ever? Did his ego ever get to him? Like where he
Oh,
thought
it.
his shit
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
stink?
Yes. Yes.
Talk to
Before I
us.
answer that, I'm gonna ask some. I'm gonna answer like a couple questions from the chat. Someone asked if Nonito if it's safe for him to go so low in his career. Let me tell you, when he fought, in a way, the first time he was 116 the morning of the weigh-ins, and then we had to rehydrate him. And then the second time he was 2 pounds over at 12 o'clock. The weigh-ins were at 2, I think. And I woke him up at 12 and I said, "You still have 2 pounds of fat." He cut the 2 pounds in 5 minutes. It was nothing. So he's good with that weight. And someone asked what the date car is. The date car is an M4 convertible. That's the date car. That's our baby. But okay, so Nonito. So 2 years into our relationship, we're buying stupid shit, right? 3 years in our relationship, he's we're going to so many fights. He's doing guestings. He was acting in the Philippines. Um, Everybody loved him everywhere we went. It was like no Nino, no Nino, no Nino. And a lot of the times, I've told you this, I get anxiety. I don't like being in crowds. So when it's too much, for example, okay, we're going to this event, this event, this event in one day, I'm like, I need a break. Like I need to breathe. And he was a bit of an asshole about it, right? He's like, you're supposed to come, you're supposed to suck it up. He's like, well, fuck you then and stay home. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, we're gonna go there, you know. So and then I get pregnant. I had
Yeah.
Jamal, and it made it even worse because I was pregnant. Right, I couldn't go out drinking anymore. I was tired. I didn't really want to do it. Like now, I really don't want to fucking go to these events because it's exhausting. And I think it created more of a separation because I wasn't living in this world. Like I was like, I don't like this world. I want to hang out with my friends and not people that I have to smile and pretend I like them. I was like, if I'm going to spend time, I'm going to spend time with friends. She's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. So it came to a point where Jarrell was probably like 6 months and we had a big fight. I don't even know what the hell it was about, but it was already building. And he said, okay, well, he's like, well, fuck you. I want a divorce, blah, 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 blah. You know, if you wanna fight me for my money and you can keep it and this and that. And I go, and then so that night, that was at night. The next morning we woke up and my mom took my son. And I brought her over and I was like, I need to fix something. And my mom's like, okay. So she takes my son. I was like, get in the car. And he's like, what, you want to talk to me? I was like, get in the car. So he gets in the car. It was a Mercedes CLA at that point. And I drive him to the courthouse. And he's like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, you want a divorce? I was like, I'm done. I was like, you're not going to walk all over me. And he's like, so you're going to fight me for everything? I tossed him the keys. I go, I can care less about your fucking money. I was like, I'm not going to put up with this disrespect and bullshit. And I walked to the bus stop because Uber wasn't a thing then. If Uber was a thing, I would have taken Uber. And he went into the courthouse. He claims it was the wrong building. I don't know. They said it was the building across the street. But instead of going to the building across the street, he walked outside to the bus stop and he's like, let's go home. And I was like, what do you mean, let's go home? Like, no, you've been an asshole. No. And he's like, just give me a year. Give me a year to figure out why I'm acting the way I'm acting. And if I still don't improve in a year, then we'll file for divorce. And I was like, all right. After that, he went to every reflection seminar that he could attend. He spent a lot of money on personal coaches and internal development on his need to show off all of a sudden. And now we are here, 14 years later still? So that's the story. Rat?
Wow. So yeah,
Oh,
man.
sleep on me.
No. I mean, I just wanted to hear. I thought more was coming. No, look.
No, that was our
But
biggest fight.
he said, what I do remember on Punch's show, that he said that that's when he wanted to go to places and find himself more. And
Yep.
in his defense, because, Nanito's our friend, he did say as a man, when I heard it, I was there, he said that he realized how much he loved you when he found himself. And that was something that he come to terms with. And he knew how important you were in his life when he actually was going through that. He didn't recognize at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
when he came to more of his senses, and I think did he say that he was going to places which were more about God? I'm not sure now. I don't remember. Did he say that he was going to places which was he more in
More
touch spiritually
spiritual.
in God or
Yes, it
whatever?
was more spiritual. Really looking in towards yourself and being, having gratitude. Also conflict resolution. Also um, the stories we tell ourselves. We have, for example, the story of two brothers who were beaten by their dad. One never beat his kid, the other one did. And both of them had the same origination, and yet each of them took a different path. So it's what stories are you holding on to? For example, one of Nonito's stories when we were first dating was his need for food. And and I don't mean like, oh, let me just sustainability. I'm talking about gorging. 112, he would go up to 145. That's when we met. And I was like, this is disgusting. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And he's like, well, you know, he's like, he would always tell a story. We never had food when I was growing up. We didn't have electricity. Everything was dried fish because that was preservative. Um, and this and that. So now I'm indulging. And I'm like, you need to I love the story and I think you should hold that dearly in your memory, but you are in America,
Mm.
you have electricity, and you have an abundance of food. It's never going to run out. No one's going to steal it from you. So the story needs to be cut off at a point where you realize where you are in the present is not stuck in the past. So it's these stories that he still held to for a long time, that he had to really look into himself and say, okay, well, that's not me anymore. That was me when I was 5, 6, 7. but it's not me anymore. So why do I keep pretending I'm that kid?
So when you first met him and you were both at a part where you were getting to know each other, where was he in life when you met him, Rachel?
When I met him, he just met Darchinian. He just fought Darchinian. He fought 777. We met August August 13th. He was at my party. I had a sold out party because I made national team again, and I usually throw parties. Danity Kane was performing. It was you couldn't get in. It was max capacity by 10:30 in San Jose. But one of the
So
guys that
when he
was
met you, he was a world champion, yeah?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
So he came into your party.
yes, he came into. I knew another boxer. Her name was Anna Hulaton. She was a female boxer, but her roots was Taekwondo. We both got our black belt together. We were friends since 12. She couldn't make it, so she told him to go. And then he stood in line, and because we were at max capacity, and I didn't know him, so he didn't know my number to help him get in. But a boxing writer was there and walked him through security. It was like, you don't wait in line, this and that. And so they were talking, and another friend of mine was like, oh, I want to introduce you to Nonito. And I was like, okay. And so he turns around, he says, hi, my name is Nonito. And I'm like, Rachel. And he's like, nice to meet you. Turns around and like stops talking to me. And I'm like, all right, asshole, bye. And he thought I was a bitch because I didn't wait for him and I thought he was an asshole. So it wasn't exactly, love at first sight at all.
Yeah.
Um, and then the weekend went by. That was a Thursday. It was a Taste Thursday lounge. So, but Thursday, then he wanted to see me Friday, and then Saturday. Saturday we were going to Sacramento with my friends. A bunch of us were going, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to Sacramento with my friends. Do you want me to just drop you home on my way home, on my way to Sacramento? And he's like, well, I mean, can I just come with you? And I'm like, oh, great. Now I have a tag along. And then so he comes with us to Sacramento. On Monday, I get sick. I tell him to stay away from me. I'm like, go away. Don't want to see you. He keeps coming over to the house bringing orange juice and soup. And I couldn't stop him from coming around. And so anyway, around this time, I was like, I've kind of heard about him, but I never watched the fight. He's like, you watched my fight? I was like, no. So he brings over a DVD and he puts it on my piano. And he's like, can you watch my fight? And I was like, yeah, when I have time. It doesn't move for 2 weeks. It's still on my piano. Every time he comes over, he's like, you didn't watch it yet. I was like, I don't have time. My dad comes home and he looks at the DVD and puts it in the player and he watches it, right? So the next time Nonito comes over, he's like, you watched it. And I was like, no, I didn't. He's like, it moved. It's not on the piano anymore. I was like, call my dad. Did you touch the DVD that was on the piano? He goes, yeah, you have a fight of Nonito Donaire and Victor Darchinian. I was like, oh. And so I'm like looking at Nonito. I'm like, it was my dad that watched your fight. I was like, don't like be so proud of yourself. I'm like, you're cute. So I didn't really care about it because for
Yeah,
me
but
in the
like
Bay,
everybody else would have wanted to watch the world champions fight. You know what I mean? Like he must have thought, how come Rachel's not wanting to watch my fight like everybody else would have wanted to?
I think because like for me, like in the Bay, there was so many, right? Like, I mean, I had Danity Kane at my party. Like there was so many
Okay.
like people, you know what I'm saying? Like you're touching shoulders a lot with world champions, with MMA fighters, with, you know what I mean? So for me, it was just like, okay, all right. I'm not gonna like jump over the hills for you. And it was a competition for us all the time.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I showed him my fight video and he said, who is that? I go, it's me, you idiot. And I was like, did you think I picked someone off the internet that looked like me so I could impress you? I'm like, God, you're so into yourself. I'm telling you, we were not like in love. We were like fighting outside the ring. Like it was a size up of opponents. But so after that weekend, get this, after that weekend, He goes, so I told the girl in the Philippines that I was talking to about you. And I looked at him and I was like, why'd you do that? And he's like, well, because I want to be honest with you. I was like, I knew about her. You told me you were chatting with someone on Yahoo Messenger, I think it was. Yeah, it was Yahoo Messenger. So there's this girl he was quote unquote seeing on the internet. And they had an argument because he freaking screenshotted the entire chat message to me to prove to me that he told her about me. And I literally turned around and said, I don't know why you did that. We're not boyfriend and girlfriend. I just met you. So, I mean, this could not work out in any shape and form, and you just blew your chance with her. And he's like, no, he's like, I want to be with you. I was like, oh, well, this is going to be a long damn road. And here we are.
Hey, look, man, I'll tell you this though. You know, being coming from the competitive world yourself and meeting such a competitive man in his own self, you know, it must have been a competitive situation, like you said in the beginning. But, you know, just to see that you're a strong woman to understand his profession and know that what it comes with, you know, boxing's a sport that you do risk yourself in this sport. I think you kind of understand as a woman because you were a combat sports lady yourself. So you
Yeah.
kind of understand the mindset that when he's having random thoughts or he's being snappy, or you kind of know how to deal with that situation because you've been there, like you were saying at once.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we
you know,
literally have a conversation after the fight when he's so after the fight, you usually have to give him about a week to get off
calm
of
down.
fight mode. Yeah, off of fight mode. And after that, we'll have a conversation and I'm like, okay, so you remember that time where I asked you if you wanted to eat, um, and you were like, I'm only eating chicken, and you didn't let me finish my sentence, but you snapped at me. And he's super apologetic, of course, after, but I know better than to argue with him when he's cutting weight, um, or during camp. Really, I bite my tongue a lot during camp because this isn't the time that he can give any more emotion, or himself to any other situation that is unneeded or unnecessary at this point. It's not like him biting me about chicken is I'm gonna go walk out and file for a divorce right now, right? But it's because I understand. I've been there. I've had to cut 10 pounds in 2 days one time. I understand. It's not the funnest game. It's not fun. And you ice out everybody. A lot of our friends, we just saw them a week ago. We went out a week ago. And they're like, dude, we haven't seen you. You know why they haven't seen us? They haven't seen us since 12 weeks before Ubali. And these are friends in town that we're really close to.
So
And they get it.
the sacrifice in a competitive world, especially when you're at the world level, there are a lot of sacrifice and things that you guys have to differently do. But I think that's, you know, something that you look forward to in the future is when he does retire, you understand the sacrifices that you give, that you'll give more time to each other and the family, probably, you know?
Yes, yeah. And that's the thing is that like our closest friends understand. There's never a question. For example, with the Ubali fight, when it came, I think 6 weeks before, Nonito said I couldn't go out anymore. And it was because of the threat of COVID, right? The threat of the cancellation of the fight. And I go out once a week with my girlfriends to Taco Tuesdays, but I couldn't go anymore. But these sacrifices are warranted, they're needed. Like for me to be selfish and be like, no, I'm going to go to a casino and have tacos with my friends and margaritas and be around a bunch of unmasked people and then bring it home and then you cancel your fight. Like it's just selfish.
Yeah, so you have a, you know, that's a, you know, that's a good thing about you. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you understand a lot of things and you stand by your man because you got to recognize that you can't be selfish because in some respect he's got a lot to do, and you got to respect his just his profession, you know, where he is.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, that takes a good woman who knows that she can't think about herself. They don't make women like that. Too many women like that today, where respects her man and what her man, you know, like a lot of women they get offended. Oh look, you can't go out. I don't want you to go out because I don't want you to be here and there. Some women don't like that, because they want to be totally free in their relationships. But you respect that, and that's a good quality that you got. That you recognize what he is and what he does, and you respect that.
Well, I don't think it's even just the amount of respect, but it's also understanding, right? Like, because okay, let's take Tom Brady and Giselle. She understands what he does. Oh, she respects what he does, but she doesn't understand it. She doesn't get it, right? She's not at the practices. She's, catering to the kids, which I understand and I applaud her for. But there's a disconnect. You don't understand what I do, so you don't respect it enough. And apparently, this supposed situation has been going on for quite some time. And he leaves, and she doesn't follow. She'll go to the games, and then she'll go back to where she is, and then that's it. She doesn't see. The thing is that I see his blood, sweat, and tears. I see when he's tired. I see when he doesn't get sleep. I see when he needs to get a massage. I see when he needs to get a chiropractor. All these things. I see the blood on the ground where most women don't, and they take the easy route out. I'm gonna go on to brunch with my friends. Don't you think I want to go to brunch with my friends on weekdays and just say fuck life? Like, some husband, please go pick up the kids because I'm drunk over at Cosmo. I have never had that. I knew my responsibility. I know I have to pick up the boy. I have to bring the boys to school. I know I have to bring Nonito to the gym, train him, come home from the gym, drop him off so he can take a nap, so he can have his second training, go pick up the kids, do their homework, all these things, and then ask if he can watch the kids for at least an hour so I can go on a treadmill. Because me training is not the career. Him training is. And I got to make sure everything else around him is taken care of before I think of myself.
Wow. Well, I gotta say this though. There is certain things that I'll do my homework. And Rachel, it seems like you were a very serious person as well, and so was your father. And at the end of the day, you speak to a rap star, but I've heard, that your father was a chief of security, right?
Yeah.
He was a very high standard man in his position, and I heard you was a very high standard position, and now that's why maybe you never took Nonito that serious like other people would have took him that serious, because you and your father are as a chief of security. Can you explain to us what is his position at that time?
Well, so he was only chief of security of Nonito's team. What happened is when we started dating, we would go to these events, and Nonito didn't have a security team, and we would get pushed and pulled and God knows what at those events. So my dad took it upon himself to start like coming with me. Of course, his intention is that my daughter could get hurt, right? And then we brought on some retired policemen, some military guys, and things like that that I've known for
Military
some time.
guys. Your father was connected to military guys. Tell him the military guys were around you, right?
Yes, yes,
See,
and all
see,
of them. I mean, we could get in trouble anywhere, and it was some of these. These guys had their cards. They had their
35.
yeah, they were verified. They weren't just random guys off the street that they would take their own temper or anger out on a fan and not go through the appropriate actions of how to negate a situation from arising. So that's, like I said, my dad was he was a fighter, and then he trained me, and then when it came to Nonito, I think he just saw that it could be detrimental to him and I if we didn't go to these events without security. So from that point on, we normally had 6 guys depending on the level, how big the fight was, or if Nonito was the undercard or not the undercard, the main event, then we would have more security. And they rotate shifts. Like there's a whole thing fight week, and they know what they're supposed to wear. They know when. They know that not more than there always has to be someone at the hotel with Nonito, not in his room, but on premise, because Nonito is one of those people that'll wake up from a nap and say, "I want to go walk around." So there's always at least 4 in the hotel, and 2 can go out. So they have to create their own schedule around that. And then they have the set schedule of when they're supposed to be, like when he's training, of course, weigh-ins, press conferences, and stuff like that. They've worked with all the commissions. The commissions know my security. And some of the promoters have actually tapped my security because they couldn't handle either the crowd or whatever. So they're known within the HBO circle, the ESPN circle, Showtime. Everybody knows like my security guys.
Yeah,
So
I heard not to mess with you and your father's security guys. Yeah. No, but look, nobody would have ever thought to ask you those questions. But I want to ask you something else. Is it true? Now, I don't know about this one, but is it true that you saved a person's life? When you were
oh
pregnant, you got
yeah.
injured. You were pregnant and you got injured, and you saved another child's life. Is that what it was?
Yeah, so
Come on, you
again,
gotta
like
give Rapstar some props that I did my homework, Rachel.
you did.
Because ain't
Um,
nobody ever asked you questions like this. But go
no.
on. Rachel saved a human being's life, ladies and gentlemen. She was pregnant and she got injured. Rachel Donaire saved another child's life. Please explain to us what happened.
Well, it was 4th of July, right? And again, I was saying, Nonito took it full advantage that I was pregnant and I couldn't go and drink. So, we did, um, we had a party, but I couldn't drink, and I could only sit by the pool because it was so damn hot. And what happened was there's twins. Um, their mom was by the food. She was holding a 1-year old. And I honestly don't, I think the dad was also drunk. Um, but the twins they didn't know how to swim, but they were switching out life jackets. And so I was probably about a good 10 feet away from the pool, just sitting on a lounge chair. And they switch in, they're fine for a good time. But eventually, the one who didn't have a life jacket on was playing what supposedly was the shallow water of her pool. It was a beach entry. So beach entry, you can sit on it for a little bit, then there's a ledge, right? So I don't know how he ended up in, off of the ledge, but he was off the ledge. By the time I saw him, the mom screamed, and she was way away. She's at least a quarter of a football field away. And she screams, but she has a 1-year old. What is she going to do, right? And so I look, and you see this 6-year-old underneath, like about a foot of water. He's already underneath. Like, he's not splashing. It was a quiet drown. And I get up and I run over to the pool. I jump in and I wade through the water because it wasn't that deep for me. Pick him up out of the water and then throw him up onto the ledge. Nonito jumps in the pool after me. He's already saved, but Nonito is like, are you okay? Are you okay? And at that point, I thought I was okay. I think because of the adrenaline.
Because you were
But when I woke
pregnant
up,
at the time, weren't you?
I was 9 months pregnant, so that was July 4. Jarrell came July 16.
So you have a kid called Jarrell Logan, right?
That one was Jarrell Michael. That was the firstborn.
Okay, Jarrell Michael. And your second child's name is?
Jarrell Logan.
Yeah, because someone told me you had a kid called Jarrell Logan, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that was crazy. I mean, you got to feel proud that you saved a child. I mean, you got to, Rachel, because I remember when I was on holiday once, a little girl nearly got drowned, and it broke my heart nearly, and it was like everyone was so enjoying themselves, but then everybody just went quiet. So I mean, that's got to mean something to you as well, how God put that in your path.
No, exactly. And I think, you know, it woke me up to make sure that my kids were going to take swimming lessons as soon as they could, right? Like even if you don't have a pool, your child should know how to swim. It's one of the most dangerous things. And everyone, you always hear it like a child drowned in a neighbor's pool or someone else's pool, a friend's pool, because it wasn't theirs and they never thought it to be a threat. And things like this happen. And so for me, it was more so as an instinct, maybe because I already had a baby in my stomach. And I was the closest,
Mm,
and I didn't even think about it. I wasn't gonna just wait to see who was gonna jump in or not. I'm gonna put you on hold for 2 minutes, okay?
yeah. So look at that, man. This is exclusive. Rachel Donner, she gave you some exclusive insight to the Nonito Donner fight with Monster Inoue. What kind of things that she saw. She saw her husband. He wasn't listening at the time. She told you that, Nonito Donner told her that he couldn't hear her when he was in that fight with Monster Inoue. We heard the exclusive about Rachel and what she's told her about some of her life experiences, some of her experiences with the champ, no one else but Nanito Donner. This has been an exclusive, and this interview happened just by chance. You know what I mean? Respect to the Donners. Hopefully, we're going to get Nanito Donner here for the chat. Hopefully, we get Nanito Donner, the legend, for Rap Star Boxing soon with Rachel on another live. We will get hopefully the chance, you know. But Rachel, we're gonna move forward now. It's been so exclusive, a lot of people we've never heard it like you told us today. It's been a
Hmm.
great live. But I'm gonna say this. Nanito Donaire now, what is the logical situation? What do you feel about him fighting uh, Jesse Rodriguez, Bam Bam?
So I know I've pushed Nonito because I always say like, well, you're in my way, so we're gonna have to fight, right? But Nonito's not like that. Nonito's about loyalty, and Bam we've known since he was 12.
Oh, you
Um,
did? You know him since a kid?
yeah,
He's
and
doing he's
and
doing great things in boxing, isn't he?
he is, and I would think that that would have been like an easy fight to make because of Nonito was the WBC champion, get ranked in the WBC, become and have that fight like uh sanctioned. But Nonito has, he thinks differently than I do, which I respect, and he's like go after all the other champions. Um, at the time, we didn't know Franco was Bam's brother. Um,
What?
well, they have different last names. It's just weird.
Mm.
So, we had
Yeah.
put out that proposal, but we don't know Franco the way that we know Bam. So I don't know if that's going to play in any of our decision making later. But with the last weekend's fight with Ancajas Martinez, I had put, the word out that we're looking for that fight. Um, whether or not that happens, I'm not sure. Because again, every single time we put anything out, they're like, nope, nope, nope.
But I
So,
mean, Roman Gonzalez and Estrada, they got their own thing going on now, right?
correct. Hmm.
So then we got Ioka. So with Ioka, it's not happening, is it? Nanito Donaire wants to fight Ioka, but that fight doesn't seem to be able to be put in place,
No,
correct?
because he's in talks with Franco.
Okay. So if Ioka is in talks with Franco, how about we look at somebody like Tanaka? How do you feel about Tanaka?
He's not a world champion.
I know, I know. What about? I mean, you don't want to fight just to stay busy, right? You don't want to
Well, if
fight
we
like
if we stay busy, it's going to be in the 18s because we want to keep our rankings up in the 18s. But like I said, I mean, okay, so in my best, what I think could
because you can't
happen.
get Ioka at the moment. Estrada and Roman is out the picture.
Hmm.
Jesse Bam Bam Rodriguez, you've not, you've got a different relationship with him. Um, so that leaves us no world champion.
Well, so if you look at it this way, so there's Martinez, right, the IBF. the one that beat Ancajas last weekend. He just
Okay,
fought.
yeah. Right. So
So
you
that could come to fruition in, I wouldn't say this year, I would say early next year, possibly. If, depending on if there is any interest in that fight. That would be my best option, Martinez. But I mean, if 115 is evading us, I would just wait until, like, because I don't think Bam wants to stay at 115. He wants to go down to 112. At that
right.
point, he's going to have to vacate. Then we'll go and fight for a vacant title, and then people can't pick and choose and say, "Well, I don't want to fight Nonito."
So does Nonito have a date that, or there's no such date that you're looking at for him at the moment that he should be
Mm,
fighting by to stay active?
Um, I would say honestly, I would say late January is when I'm looking at, and that's not even with an opponent right now. Um, but I leave it there because he's asked Richard, like Richard asked him if he wanted to fight by the end of the year. But I think he does want to celebrate his birthday because he never does. He's always in camp. Um, this is the first year he's like, I want to celebrate my birthday this year, and I'm like, okay, well, are we fighting in December? And he's like, just tell Richard to push it. And so he told Richard, and so we're in an understanding of we're aiming more towards the beginning of next year than we are, rushing a fight. And just a stay busy fight that means absolutely nothing by the end of the year.
Right. So is he in? Is he doing light training now?
Oh yeah, we're gym
Like,
rats. So now
yeah.
because he's not like in camp,
Uh-huh.
you see him, he goes to, we drop the kids off at 7:30. We go to hot works at 8:15 until 9:15, and then he comes home, he'll eat breakfast, and then normally he'll take a nap, and then he'll train, and then we'll pick up the boys. So there's two training sessions. He trains once with me where I'm not actively telling him what to do. And then the second one, then I'm like watching, and I'm, like whether he wants to do a lot of hit drills or speed and agility, or he's working on something in boxing, then I'll come over, check on him. Sometimes he'll say stuff to me, and sometimes he'll just be in his mind shadow boxing and hitting the bag. And unless he says something, I just let him be, right?
Mm. So what is it? Is it 115 is the weight that Nonito Donaire is going to campaign at on his return? Is that what he's doing?
That's what we're hoping. If it's not there, then we'll be patient and still campaign at 118, because we have to all remember that Inoue has already made his move, is going to move to 122, which means that the titles will be vacant at 18. So it'd be dumb for us to campaign at 15 with just a stay busy fight when literally Nonito's plan is to capture a 115 title and let it go the same night he
Because at
receives it.
118, I'm sure he's still ranked highly in some sanctioning bodies, especially with the WBC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but you have to be active, right? Like you can't just like sit there and like think that your ranking's gonna stay in place. The more the other 18 pounders fight, like the more they creep up. So, like I said, we'll stay, at 118, fighting the highest ranking fighters to make sure that his position when belts open up is
Gonna
viable for him to fight for.
You got Jason Maloney, you got Casemiro. What about Casemiro?
Casemiro's fighting Akaho on December 3rd in
Right.
122.
So who are you looking at 118?
118.
There's not very many opponents. What opponents are you looking at? You beat the Kabali. You beat Kabali. He's number,
Would it be fun? Would it be fun to fight Inoue at 118?
okay, go back to the trilogy now, yeah?
I was talking about his brother.
Oh, okay. At 118.
Is he ranked high?
I don't see him. Where is he ranked?
He's ranked 4,
I mean, what's his record?
3. I don't know what his record is. I know he lost to Ubali.
Oh, did he?
Yes,
Not
and
many
I
people.
think he's number 3 in the BC. I want to say he is. Takuma. Anyway, what
Mm,
story would that be? That'd
that's
be an
still,
interesting.
that's still be an interesting story for him and you. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But we were very excited with the Estrada, or we were excited to know that maybe you guys might be getting a fight like that. But like we said, boxing business is what it is. They've really got their own plans here and there. So
Well, so why don't we just hope that Chocolatito gets the belts? Because Chocolatito, we have already talked to numerous times, and his promoter, and they are all in for a Chocolatito versus a Donaire match at 115.
right,
So if the belt switches, it'd be in our best interest.
yeah. I mean, there's opportunities basically that can arise in the near future.
Yes.
Just got to be patient now.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I said, Nonito's one of the most. I mean, he fought 4 times in 2012. 2012? Yeah,
Hmm.
he fought four
Oh,
times
that's
in
good.
2012. He's always he went back to back. Like he would have gone back to back if Casemiro was there, but it was going to be May fighting Obali and then August fighting Casemiro. Um, but instead it was June to or May and then December. But up until the Casemiro fight got canceled, he was training, and then got canceled. And then they said, okay, well, then we tried to make the Casemiro fight after the Rigondeaux fight, and then that fell through in September. And then they kept. This is the problem. I mean, it's not the problem, but a fighter always has to stay ready, and you're trying to aim for a moving target. So when they said, "Oh, now you have Gaballo," Nonito was already in shape. We're not going to fat kids camp. Like camp is about strategy. And
What does Benito walk around at when he's living life right now?
137.
Really? So he stays low anyway, like stays under 140 all the time.
He would literally have to not train and eat crap like a whole pizza every
Mm.
day to get to 140. Because when he trains, like I said, he goes down about 5 pounds. So usually in camp, he walks around. Okay, so right now he's 137. When camp is in the beginning of camp, he'll go down to 132 naturally. And then now we're starting going to the 8 and 12 rounder sparring. Now he's going down to 126.
Right. And he loses weight fast when he loses it, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. His
Right.
metabolism is retarded.
Yeah, he's got a very good metabolism in that way, isn't
Yeah.
he? Good. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, how old is he now?
So we were saying about his birthday.
Mm.
His birthday is November 16th.
Uh-huh.
He's turning 40.
Right. Not many fighters stay in the game at 40, do they, Rachel? I mean, he's a skilled fighter. He's done a lot, and he's already a Hall of Famer first ballot. I mean, for me, he even if he gives up any time, the fans already understand that he's a special guy in the sport, right? So
Yeah.
at 40, he got to keep himself a bit active now. He got to be strong behind the scenes, and he's got to be staying true to the game, as in like he's got to be like training hard at some points to be ready for the fight.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, our lifestyle has always been like that. I'm a gym rat. So
Right.
if I don't work out, like he knows, like if I don't work out in the morning after I drop the boys off, then I miss it because of meetings or whatever, then I don't work out at all during that day. Like my temper's like short. Like
Huh.
I'm not happy.
Huh.
But if I get my workout in, then I'm happy. And the boys see that. The boys, they compete to see who can do the fastest mile. My eldest is in jiu-jitsu now. On his 5th freaking class, he choked out 3 kids and armbarred another one, and he's never
How
taken
old is he?
jiu-jitsu in his life.
How
Jay
old?
is 9.
Wow.
But on his fifth class, they didn't teach him how to do a rear naked choke. They didn't teach him how to do an armbar, and they paired him up for sparring. And the instructors didn't believe he's never stepped on the mat. I was like, no, he's never done jiu-jitsu. He does stand-up game. And they're like, but how'd he learn this? I was like, I forget, maybe YouTube. I have no idea with this child. But that child also is the one that is DJing in my living room every day. Like, he comes home from school, turns on the turntables, and does like a 4-song set list, DJs, does transitions, effects, everything. And then he's like, okay, mom, got to do my homework. Brings home straight A's, skipped a grade. Like, this household isn't, we don't sit around. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's in Nonito because of how our household is to just sit and get fat.
Yeah, so even the kids are not like that. The kids have inherited the mum and dad's DNA. They are very active kids. They're kind of winners. They want to do things which are, which keep them competitive. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's a good thing to have in your children because, sometimes kids are very opposite to their parents as well. It happens. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to know that they're very active in that aspect as well, so they understand the mindset of what it is because they've learned from you guys. But look, keeping it 100 now, what's the future of the Donaires? Is there any future of the Donaires in boxing after Donaire is done? Once Nonito Donaire done, is that the end of Rachel Donaire in boxing, or have you guys got a foundation or working as a to be the next management team or to be the next advisors in the sport of boxing? Is there anything that you're looking to do with the legacy of what you guys have done in the sport?
I've thought about it a couple times. I mean, as Nonito's been outside of camp, usually strength and conditioning is Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I've had numerous fighters hitting me up asking me how much I would charge since they know Nonito isn't in camp for me to train them. And I, politely declined because I was like, I just I'm burned out. I just want to take, some time off. But I do love teaching, and training people that really have the heart to want to come and train. Um, Nonito is an amazing coach. He sees things and can explain things and break down things great. As far as a manager role, I would rather take an advisory role and then just not take any money at all. Like, we're fine. We're comfortable. We know how much people dig into boxers' purses, and we're comfortable to the point where I don't need to say I'm going to take 10% of your purse or 30% on the worst case scenario. For what? Like, I don't need to pad my life. My life is amazing. And this all has to do with my decisions, all have to do with my career. And if my career is really eating up my time, I can't put that on the back burner.
But do you have another backup plan away from boxing? Or is boxing what you're gonna be doing in business away from once Nonito's retired?
No, so Nonito has actually he's crossed over into my businesses, and actually you should see like
So you have
when
other business platforms away from boxing.
oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
smart. Well, that's smart because at least you're not all eggs in on one basket. Because once the sport's done with you guys. It's kind of like the sport don't wait for no one. You know what I mean?
No, and the I can't say too much about what I do, but what was interesting about it is I tried to play a different role. What I did is I picked a name that no one even you couldn't tell, right? Like the name Logan. There's girl Logans and there's guy Logans. So I picked a what is it called? A unisex name, I guess.
Mm.
And a lot of people when they were working with me didn't know I was female. I came to a point in business where I was supposed to close a deal, and these guys were talking. It was the first time we were going to be like actually live, like talking, not live talking, but we were on a chat. And after all the paperwork was all signed down, we finally got to talk, and they're like, oh, he's like, oh, I was a lawyer and I worked for Top Rank, and I was just kind of quiet. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, do you know I was like, he's like, do you follow boxing? I was like, yeah, that boxer, that guy, I think his name is Donaire. And he's like, oh yeah, I know him. And he's like, finish up this deal and I'll introduce you to him. I was like, I'm so in love with him. And nobody else on the call knew that I'm his wife because I've built this persona that's completely different from Rachel Donaire. All they knew is that I get shit done. So he's like, I'll introduce you to him. Anyway, I let him go on for probably about 50 minutes and I put him on speaker. Nonito started listening and he goes, hello? And he's like, hello? And he's like, who's this? And Nonito's like, who's this? He's like, why are you telling my wife that you know me? And he's all, I didn't know it was your wife. But I mean, I met you. It was in San Antonio. You were fighting Darchinia and you were walking out to the ring, and I gave you a fist pump. And he's like, but you don't know me. So I come across like people like that, and I love that the work I do, like nobody knows who I am. Like even our lawyer in the company didn't know who I was for quite some time until we signed down some docs,
I
and I
mean,
have to put my
it sounds like if it's something that nobody knows, then it sounds like you're some high up government work.
no comment. I will neither confirm nor deny.
No, I understand. Look, if it's a profession that's just there for you, then it's not an open house company. It's not a public company. It's something
No.
that you do in your profession, which is something that you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so what I was bridging to, what is amazing is Nonito, he's done photography, videography. He's always wanted to be an artist, but because his parents were so, only boxing and core subjects, you don't need extracurricular. He never got to be able to dive in. So, he's done ringside photography for Top Rank before. He's done a lot of the shots for me. He did my shot for FHM. And then, so there was a point that we needed someone I was like, oh, we need this video. I don't know. Who do I hire? I know videographers in Vegas. How much are they going to cost? Blah, blah, blah. And Nonito's like, I can do it. Took a freaking video that needed to be done and submitted it. And they're like, what the hell? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's test them some more. Created a product launching, created characters for the company from I think Illustrator is what he was using, and they're all licensed to him. And it was so impressive to see him outside of boxing because I know he can be within that in that realm of where I work and be able to execute what I need him to execute in a very fast fashion because I'm sitting there with him. I'm like, I need this design created this way, that way. This is the shot angle I need, blah, blah, blah. And he'll get it. And it'll be submitted and it looks freaking amazing. And everybody in the team is like, I thought your husband's a boxer. I was like, yeah, it's kind of like his hobby. Does graphic design, but he can. So boxing is not his only thing.
There's other opportunities because he's got talent in many other ways that you said that he can do other things away from boxing. But, as far as, do you guys own a boxing gym or do you own any gyms or anything like that?
No, before COVID, we were thinking of opening a gym because I worked for one company and my classes were always sold out, but it was so corporate. I didn't like it. It was stuffy. Then I worked at I taught at another gym that was basically hands off. But at the same time, like their location wasn't good for me. Like I would only teach once a week there, but all my classes were sold out and I can cuss on it. I can yell on the mic. It was a boxing hit class and I can yell and I can, do explicit lyrics where the other one wouldn't let me. And then COVID happened and we wanted to create a gym. But the thing is that I had a taekwondo gym in California before we moved to Las Vegas. And it's, you know, it's a lot of, you're so passionate that you pretty much want to just give the lessons away for free. And I know Nonito and I know my father, and both of those guys will not be able to run a business. And so that would take me having to make sure that contracts are in place, that people are, you know, getting deducted what they're supposed to be getting deducted, and all that stuff. So for me, it's more so, do I want to just put a gym that I know probably won't make money? Because most of the time, these gyms, they charge $100 for regular students, but then you want a private time. It, like, if you're a private time and you're like Shakur or someone, you don't even want to charge them, but they're shutting down your gym for 4 hours because you're trying to get the clicks and the likes and the followers and the new members. But
Well, I don't know how it works with you guys, but in England, some of the famous boxers, and this is what I know, they use gyms for free by their name. They come and use their name, and these guys, they don't charge them nothing because their name brings a lot of attention to their gyms. Do you know what I mean, Rachel?
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So, but then you have to look at the profit and loss. When does that boxer want it? So, Nonito always does private gym for 2 hours, but it's midday. There's no boxers in there. There's no parents wanting their kids to sign up or anything like that. But if you have a high level boxer like I don't know, let's just say Manny came into town. It's like, oh, I'm gonna use your gym. I'm gonna shut it down for 5 hours from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's prime time for your clients. How do you move that? But then you want the exposure. So what's the profit and loss on that? Are people going to sign up? And what's going to happen to the members that just got kicked out of the gym because it's a private time now? Like there's so many logistics and what if, right? Like what if we split, like we put a private gym just for the boxers and then one for the public? Like can we do that? Is the square footage enough to sustain? Would you use the marketing dollars to purchase an additional side of the private gym instead of using marketing dollars, just use it for the overhead of the private gym, so then it generates buzz and wants people to come in and sign up. But it's all like Excel spreadsheets and profit and loss margins that I would have to go down and look at for sure. And but right now Vegas's market is triple the amount it should be
So
for sure.
do you guys have merch? Have you guys got an online store where people in England can buy the Filipino Flash stuff or your stuff, Rachel? Are you guys selling merch right now?
We are selling merch, but that falls on my lap as well. So I have an inventory, and all the proceeds go to our 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization to give back to the communities and, you know, those who need it. But again, that's me having to set it up and then promote it and all that stuff. And right now, it's at the height of, because of whenever No Needle fights, I go missing, and the team has to try to figure out a way to replace the things that I do. I'm in a height. We're in a peak again, and they're asking me for products that I didn't create, and therefore is not in my drive. And yet someone somewhere in the team had tried to replicate what I did and failed miserably. And now I can't find the files, and I'm having to go back and clean up everyone's mess. So it's it's actually me having to find the time to sit down and be like, okay, we're going to make this site, we're going to make it go through the nonprofit and show how much the donations are based on, you know, the purchase and the blah 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 blah, and what the foundation is about and XYZ, because all these things, it just always falls on my shoulders. Let's just put it that way. So I just have to find the time.
Well, look, at the end of the day, it seems like there's a lot of stuff worked out behind the scenes, and it just seems like you guys are not relying on boxing in the future. Once Nonito retires, it seems like maybe Rachel might retire from boxing.
but see, that's my passion. Like that's both of our passion. Like it's literally it's such a balance. And the work I do, I'm passionate about it. I'm really damn good at it, and no one can replace me. So I'm comfortable. Like anyone that ever comes in and tries to take my position, I'm
And
like,
Rachel,
whatever.
don't worry about the Punch and John McSmith. They always go back and forth. Punch gives
Oh,
John a
I was
hard
just saying
time.
hi.
Oh
They
yeah,
no, they can fight. I was just saying hi.
yeah.
Um,
They always go back and forth. So,
um, so yeah, so my position and standing is a once in a lifetime chance, and I don't want to let go of that. Now, is that my passion? Does that wake me up at night? It doesn't. Literally, when I used to teach in a big setting, it was I would literally take the like I'm like, hey babe, what do you think if I did this transition to the like what if I did um a squat to to a rack to push, then come back into a high plank position to a push back. Like we'd talk about this. It was something that excites me. A career, it's great. It makes it more than feeds my family and the other families that are underneath me in my position, but it's not something that wakes me up at night that I'm like, oh my god. And like we literally, like Nonino said, there's been times where we're talking at 2 o'clock in the morning in bed, and he's like, well, what do you think about this? And we'll get out of bed and we'll try some boxing move, like whether like when it was about Gabayo, it was like, what do you think? I was like, he does this is his tendency. I was like, what if you do this? And he's like, okay, so, and we'll get out of bed and we'll practice it and be like, is this feasible? Do you think that it's stupid? Do you think, like we'll have a dialogue. This is our passion. um and it's such a catch 22 because we don't want to be in the industry to bleed more money out of the fighters when we don't need to. But at the same time, that's also not putting the food on our table, right? I have to
I'll
give,
make a balance.
yeah, I have to give enough time to my career that's will forever sustain us outside of boxing.
Yeah, sounds like a really good plan that you need to build away from boxing, build more of a foundation where you don't need to rely on boxing anymore.
No, I mean, I even own a daycare,
Oh, that's nice. You own a daycare. Now you're talking. That's a business that you can, you know, advertise. Or
and it's 24 hours.
24-hour daycare.
Well, we live in Vegas.
Wow, wow,
strippers
24-hour
need
daycare.
strippers need babysitters.
Wow, I won't be
you know
surprised if Rachel and Nanito Donaire owned a little hotel or something. You know what I mean? Owned a nice hotel somewhere. But hey, we don't know. But the daycare seems like a good one. You know what I mean? That's a good platform you got. Are you guys into properties like people are? Are you guys into properties or not really?
We have two rental properties. I don't like to expand it because I feel like it's such we have a property manager, but at the same time you always it's weird to me when I purchase a house, even if it's a rental property, I'm like I'm really territorial about it. Like if they wreck it, yeah, okay, you could take it out of their deposit, but still like you're like, oh, this is something that we worked for and there's a hole in the wall, right? There's scratches on the floor, things like that. So we leave it at two. I don't know if we'll expand that at any
Yeah.
point because again, that's one of the things I have to do.
No, it's management and there's a lot of hassle. When you own a property, when this breaks, you got to take care of this. When this happens,
Correct.
you got to take care of this. Let me tell you, I'm in a properties business and I know a tenant, if there's an issue with the lights, the fucking lights are, out. Go buy some fucking lights, man. Why are you emailing me? But being a landlord, if it's I'm supplying a fully furnished flat. If I'm supplying a fully furnished apartment, I've got to provide things that I'm providing in there because I'm charging that rent too. So it
Hmm.
all depends on the discretion of your property. Now, do I want tenants and people to not take care of my properties? No, I do want them to take care of it. So if they need something, I don't want them to hold back. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's, you know, it comes with a lot of management and a
The
lot of hassle.
territory.
Yeah, it's, you know,
Yeah.
properties, owning one thing, it's owning properties are one thing, but actually maintaining, yeah, actually maintaining a property, managing a property is not a joke.
Do you
Are you there?
do single homes or multifamily?
No, there's multifamily. No, I don't do multifamily. I do single homes. So let's say I got two-bedroom apartments. I'll be looking for tenants for two-bedroom apartments, and sometimes that's a family too. Family with kid. It could be family with a child. But more or less, I'm looking for a family anyway because they take care of your properties. Because if you give your properties to people which are like bachelors or people which are not got a family, then you tend to realize they don't really look after their place as much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I wanted to purchase a while ago, but I don't know, it didn't end up working out. There was a property in California around the block from where I grew up, and there was a main house, and it was, God, what was it? 3,000 square foot. On the same property was two townhouses.
Oh,
So you had
townhouses are good
four,
to rent. They're easy to
yes.
rent.
So you had two of those. So you had four tenants, and renting out all four of the tenants actually covered the entire mortgage for the entire lot. But that sale fell through.
Yeah, not everything's clear cut. Sometimes a sale will fall through.
Yeah.
You know.
So right now we just have single family homes. I've been looking at, the townhouses and seeing if I can get like a couple townhouses together and stuff like that. But I haven't seen anything
Yeah.
lately that caught my eye, especially like you want in a good neighborhood, um, and stuff like that. Because once you start getting into more of the Section 8 housing, I feel like those tenants, because we did have one property at one point and it was always destroyed. It always got destroyed. It was such a
Yeah, but that
headache.
depends who you were renting it out to, right? If sometimes you rent it, like, look, Adam says that's not true. Some single young individuals are good at housekeeping. But Adam, when you got properties in the city, bro, or that's different. You're renting out to these kind of people. You're getting good rent. But if you're renting out in different towns, right, and you're renting out a two-bedroom apartment, when I've given it to individuals, I've realized sometimes they go against my contract. They'll even put pets in there. So
Mm-hmm.
what I don't what I like is people which come from, you know, a better foundation. If a person's got a family, I feel like they pay the rent, they got a child. Yeah, the property is going to be a bit of wear and tear. I understand that.
But they're not going to want to be kicked out either.
Yeah, neither are they going to want to be kicked out. They're not going to mess you around. Just so as a landlord, Adam,
Mm,
I get more stable income from families because I know those contracts, those people ain't going to put their kids on the street.
yeah. And they're not going to want to keep moving either. It disrupts the household when their kids keep moving. So they're more of a long term than they are like, oh, I just need it for 2 months.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, they come with hassle. Sometimes you can get scot free and you're good for a year or two, 2 years. But then, you know, the heating goes out, the AC goes out, the boiler goes out. There's always maintenance, but you know, it comes part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But you know
Yep.
what? I gotta say this, Rachel. Today has been an exclusive with Rachel Donner. I didn't expect it. And for someone who didn't expect it, I had some good questions ready for you.
You did. You
Yeah.
were prepared. Like you had like your note tabs already. Like if she ever comes on the show, this is what I'm going to ask her.
Man, I'm freestyle. I got a lot more to ask you, but I'm gonna leave it now because I do have a lot. You know, I can. This is rap star boxing. There's a lot to ask, and there's a lot of boxing that I want to know about, maybe from people like yourself. Hopefully, well, we can get the champ on here at some time in the near future.
Yeah, usually he's up with me, but I don't know what happened to him today. He like last night he was up with me for until like 12:30, and then today he conked out. He tapped me at when we started talking and was like, "I'm going to bed." I'm like, "Seriously?" I was like, "Okay, all right." I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
Maybe he didn't get good sleep last night, so.
yeah, we'll love to speak to him soon. We'll set it up with you. We got some more exclusive topics coming up, and I'm just gonna say this, Rachel. It's been, really, we've been appreciated to have you on Rapstar. I hope you've appreciated to be on here. We really do appreciate your knowledge and some of the stuff that we've been hearing from you today. And I've seen it, right? At the end of the day, you're very honorable to what you do. So, respect to you for actually coming and pulling up on Rapstar, Rachel.
No, of course. And, I always appreciate the support that you guys give and allowing us to say what our truth is and not judging. To all the guys that have been listening to our little fun story down memory lane, thanks for coming along on the ride. Unexpected ride tonight and putting your questions in the chat. So maybe next time, Rapstar will, when we schedule it. Get your questions before
Yeah,
we get
so
on
this is
live.
what we'll
So
do. Next time it'll be the chat can ask all the questions because it'll be prepared. This was just Rachel
exactly.
pulled up on me last minute. You know what I mean? So it was exclusive though. We really did have a great topic. We got to speak about certain things like we never heard it before with Nonito Donaire. We never heard it before how he was leading up to that fight and when he after the fight. So we've got a lot on this channel, and if you just came in, smash that like button. We've got Rachel Donaire who came in the building. Rachel, I can't wait to see you soon again. I want to catch you on another live, maybe next month sometime. We'll set up the date and we'll get, we'll get to it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I promise next time I'll be on camera. I just didn't want to put clothes on. So you
Hey,
you get you
hey, we appreciate now, Rachel. You know what? On Rapstar, we just appreciate it. And I appreciate your honesty today. There's a lot that Rachel has said today on my live that I really was a bit like she was very honest about certain things that I've never heard it before like that. Neither have you. You might need to go back and rewind. I ain't gonna tell you what it is. You need to go back and rewind, and you will hear this whole interview exclusive only on Rapstar. You've been listening to Rapstar Boxing Knowledge and Rachel Donaire. Rachel, where does everybody find you? How do we find you? And let everybody know where we can contact you.
I'm usually Beyond the Ring with Nonito and Rachel on YouTube. My Instagram handle is Rachel Donaire. Nonito's Instagram handle is Nonito Donaire. On Twitter, someone had stolen my name, so it's knockout_queen. And of course, Nonito's is Filipino Flash. So until we create more websites and stuff like that I have to do. That's where you guys can hit me up. I'm always interacting with fans. I come into chats because I like to get to know you guys. And I hope you guys appreciate my honesty and vulnerability and the truths I told today. And this is the truth from what I felt and what I saw in my perspective. And again, appreciate it so much, Rapstar, for allowing me to be this way. And you guys, again, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the notification button so you know the next time Rapstar is going live.
Yeah, man. And Rachel, I'm going to catch up with you soon behind the scenes. I still don't have your email address. I'm not sure if I do. If anything, we got to exchange details soon. And if you ever need
Okay.
a person in London or you need a UK connect, you got your boy Rapstar, Rachel.
Sounds great. Thank you so much again for having me.
Yeah, I'm out of here, people. God bless you. What a great show. We're the one and only Rachel Donaire. We out of here. Peace.